Hello, this is Over and Over and Over Again. We're live, and this is Remembering Rocky. Hello, how are you doing? Good evening. I'm Richard. This is Over and Over Again, the Positive Arsenal channel. And this is, Remembering Rocky. It is 20 years tomorrow since his unfortunate passing. So we're just going to look on some memories of his career at Arsenal and just what we all kind of loved about him, really. Also, as well, there was a little bit of other sad news today. Of course, I'm sure you've all heard about this as well. So just condolences, obviously, to Claude's friends and family as well for that. I've got some guests joining me today. There's going to be maybe a few people coming in and out as well throughout the show, just giving us some memories of David Rocastle. First of all, he's our regular, of course. He loves being on the show. We love having him on. Of course, it is Melvin. How you doing, Melvin? You all right?
Yeah, all right, thanks. I think this might be renamed this channel Over and Over. Oh, not Melvin Again channel.
Well, we love having you on, of course. It's great to have you back after. So you had a couple of weeks off, didn't you? So it's good to have you back in the swing of it now.
Thanks. Thank you.
Also, as well, coming in, we've got, again, he's been fairly regular on the show. It's, of course, Andrew from Dial Square to Where. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thank you, mate. Thanks for having me on today. I literally had goosebumps during that intro with David Rocastle, remembering him, and everyone knows really is my favourite player of all time. So yeah, great to be on, and thanks for the invite.
No problem at all. It's going to be good to look back on some great memories. And as well, we've got a debutant on the channel actually. Been looking forward to having her on for quite a while. From the Highbury squad, it is Amanda. How you doing? You all right?
Hey. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Oh, looking at those pictures and the chant, and obviously seeing my Kev with him as well in the pictures. And Rocky, what a player! Thank you for inviting me.
No problem at all. It's it's obviously a lot of us have got some great memories, obviously, of David Rocastle. So it's good that we can all maybe share them. Really, I mean, for me personally, I kind of first became aware of Rocky about 1983 when he was in the youth team. I used to buy the match program and they had sections in there and his name kept cropping up. So that's when he kind of got drawn to my attention, really. And I thought, maybe we got a player coming through. And then I was at his debut against Newcastle in 1985. The game was pretty unremarkable, shall we say, a 0-0 draw. But you could see straight away that he had something about him, really. And of course, from there, it became what it was. I mean, Amanda, if we start with yourself, I know you obviously you've got to shoot off quite soon anyway. So, what kind of memories do you have of Rocky that's kind of stick in your mind the most?
I don't know where to start, to be honest. Going forward a little bit, I did actually meet him I don't know what it was, an Arsenal do. And he was one of the nicest people you'd ever meet. And I'm so proud that I got to meet him, obviously, as a teenager. Got a nice picture with him. And it was Rocastle. It was Rocky. It was, everybody loved him. I never heard anyone ever say a bad word about him. I loved, I don't even know where to start, but he was just so quick and skillful for Arsenal. He was a fabulous player in midfield. 10 years, I think he was with us, from youth right till he left. Arsenal through and through. And you know what I loved? He was, a gentleman and everything. But on the pitch, he did have a bit of bite. Do you remember that bust up he had? I think it was with Whiteside. you felt he was a nice player, but you wouldn't mess with him. You know, he was clever. And, you know, when we heard the news about what he contracted and then he died pretty quickly, devastating. And, you know, 20 years later, 20 years tomorrow, we lost our son, you know, and it's tough. And especially with what's happened with Claude today as well. And my condolences go out. I was quite friendly with Claude and was very shocked and upset. You know, Arsenal means a lot to everybody. It's about community. And no one more than David Rocastle was part of that. And yes, he scored some amazing goals. But as an all-round footballer, I loved him.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was an amazing player as well. And I think that the thing is as well, I mean, I know, you know, when people maybe die, people kind of look on him in a different way. But people love Rocky when he was here. Exactly the same. That's what everybody felt about him. And I did meet him briefly once as well. It was by a total accident, actually. I was at Highbury to pick up some tickets for an away game. And he just so happened to be at the ground. I can't remember why he was there, but players quite often was at Highbury for one reason or another. And I just happened to bump into him in the street outside. And at first I'm thinking, he sort of walked past me and I'm thinking, that's Rocky. And my mate said to me, we've got to go and speak to him. So we kind of ran back and kind of spoke to him and stuff like that. And it was just amazing, really. And he was injured at the time. And he was sort of saying, oh, you're going to be fit for the weekend. And he's going, I don't think so, but I'm trying and all this. And it was great. And he was so down to earth. And obviously all the other stuff we've seen about him since. And that really sort of, for me, kind of summed him up, really. You know, he was a great player. But the thing with me was he always remembered where he'd come from, you know, the estate where he'd lived, and because his dad had died when he was really young and he had the responsibilities at home, helping his mum and all that kind of stuff. And you could see that he was, you know, I suppose it's even more today, it becomes more kind of in focus because he was such a leader, even at a young age, 17, 18, 19, you could see on the pitch he was a leader. And he's a sort of player now that we've been crying out for, haven't we? Somebody like that who's got that amount of leadership quality as well as the actual quality on the pitch as well. So, yeah, I mean, what a fantastic player. What a great guy he was. I mean, Melvin, what kind of sticks in your mind out of, obviously there'll be loads of memories now, we've all got loads, but what in particular maybe sticks out in your mind with him?
Well, I went to the game that you talked about earlier with Whiteside when he got sent off. I went to that game. I mean, they kicked rubbish out of us that game, like they normally do when they can't beat us at football. They absolutely, and he was the one that stood up. He was only a kid then. I think it was his first season, actually, in the first team.
First main season, regular, yeah.
And he just stood up and went, I'm not having any more of this. The referee wasn't taking any notice what United were doing, and he did it himself, and he got sent off. Funny enough, from Whiteside, who nearly kicked O'Leary's head off in the first few minutes, if I can remember correctly. Yeah. So that was one of them. The guy came, what was there not to like about Rocastle? He came from our academy. You could see he had Arsenal running through him. He gave 100%. He was skillful. He had everything. He was fast. He was direct. He could pass. He could dribble. He could do everything. And like you said, Amanda, he could get stuck in. It wasn't all that. He could get. I mean, I remember even that the famous Old Trafford fight we had up there in 1991. He was present and he was involved. Put it that way. He had to be held back. If you look at the films again, he actually had to be held back because he was that type of had that temperament. He didn't like. He fought for the team. He had leadership qualities. If anyone was getting done on the field, he'd take responsibility for them. But what a classy player! The touch he had. He had a beautiful touch at such speed. He had everything. In fact, he was a great player, John Barnes. But I think at the time they're both playing in the same era. As good as Barnes was, and I might be, but I think Rocastle had more to him. He had a little bit more to him as a player. You know, Barnes was superb. He had speed, he had skill, but he had the X factor. Rocastle, absolute X factor. You had to love him for it. It was just amazing. And the shame of it is that he passed at such an early age. You think yourself, how can someone so good at on and off the pitch, being a real good human pass? And also was very sad for us. He played 200 odd games for us. But he could have played so much more without that injury. And think of what we could have won with him, what he could have won with us, and think what we could have won because of him. Because it was such a shame he had that injury.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. I mean, you mentioned John Barnes, actually, and funnily enough, I mean, I remember a game at Highbury, I think it was 1982, when John Barnes played for Watford, and he absolutely ripped us to bits that day.
I remember that.
and he was absolutely brilliant, John Barnes.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, wow, who's this guy? And you mentioned him with Rocastle, and funny enough, when Rocastle first burst into our team, that was who I kind of was comparing him to, because he was a very similar player, wasn't he? He had a similar physique, he had the similar kind of speed and skill, and he did kind of remind me quite a lot of John Barnes, actually, and which obviously was a good thing, because I'll never forget that game that John Barnes had for Watford. That day I was like, wow, standing there thinking, wow, who is this guy? Because I think Watford had just got promoted into the first division. That was their first season, so no one really knew too much about him. And I think, you know, that day when I say they won 4-2, I think he might have scored one, set up about 3. It was just unbelievable. We just couldn't deal with him. And I say Rocastle for me became our version of John Barnes. And it's difficult to say if he was better or not. Of course, from our point of view, he probably was. We thought he was. Yeah, they were very, very similar, I thought, in just the way that they played the game as well. And, you know, their kind of whole, you know, they were both very down to earth, wasn't they? And I think that came through, you know, especially with Rocky. I mean, what about yourself, Andrew? I know you've obviously you've made it clear how much of a favourite he was of yours. Anyway,
well, I've got my top on today. Like I always get the old number 7 on the back and put the original shirt on,
and the cannon one in the right way.
Right way, like
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I second everything that everyone said. He was. I mean, at the time, there was a load of Liverpool fans in my school, but I grew up in southeast London and around the Catford, Lewisham area where he was from. My school was right next to Crofton Park, the Honour Oak Estate, where him and Wrighty grew up. And that's, you know, really the way it sort of the love really grew. And because there was a load of Liverpool fans in the school, and everyone was going mad about John Barnes as well, and he used to scare the life out of me every time we played them. But all of a sudden we had Rocastle, and there's no reason to be scared of him anymore, because I think we had a better version of him, on a better all-round player than John Barnes. He could play central midfield. Rocastle, he could play right wing. He could do anything. He could tackle back. He could play right sort of wing back. He was as strong as an ox. Not scared of anyone. It's like Melvin said, his touch was incredible. The goals he scored, the assists he scored. He would be £150 million player in this day and age, without question. He would be wanted across Europe. He's that good, And do you know what the worst thing is, though? All the major highlights, which I'm sure we'll come to, all the certain goals he scored and career highlights, all of that was done without him being 100% fit. He actually got his injury in 1986.
1986, yeah, I know.
Wow.
He got injured.
I didn't know
that. That is when he got injured, and he was never quite the same player after that. So can you imagine what we were robbed of?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No.
What he could have done. What he could have been.
He played for 3-4 years, didn't he, on that injury? And he was just amazing. So, like you said, imagine how he would have done. Actually, just before you carry on, Andrew, we've got a very, very special guest that's just joined us. He actually used to play with Rocky. Welcome to the show again. He's been on before. It's Mark Flats. How you doing, Mark? You all right, mate?
How you doing? How's everyone?
Hey, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so
Great to have
funny.
you on.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not bad at all.
Yeah, not too bad.
We're just remembering
How's
your
everyone?
mate.
Kev?
No, he's on the other one. No, it's Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky. Bless him. I used to do his boots when I was YTS.
Oh, wow. Did you?
Yeah.
We see him as lovely and fantastic. And I think he was just like that, wasn't he?
Oh, Rocky was a top man. In and out. I'll tell you what, when I was at YTS, he taught me a lot. He used to come up to all the YTS players, give us advice, and he's just a top bloke.
Oh.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's good. It's good to hear that from the inside, if you like, as well, because obviously from the outside, that's how we saw him. We all saw him as being a fantastic guy, a brilliant footballer. So, it's great to hear. I mean, you must have so many memories of him, Mark, mustn't you? Of playing with him, training with him every day and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right. Rocky, like I said, I was 15. And even when we was at YTS, we used to do the boots. He was number one. He was always used to come to the boys and give us advice, telling us what we're doing wrong on and off the pitch. And what I remembered of him is he's always had a smile on his face.
Yeah, he did seem to, every time we saw him, he always seemed to be smiling. Even when he was injured, he still seemed to be smiling, didn't he? We've got a question in the chat, actually. We can all answer this from FIFA boy Darren there. How you doing, Darren? Thanks for watching. He said,
Hey,
what's
Darren.
your goal that
Hi,
Rocky's
Right, Darren.
This will be interesting because we may well all have a different one, perhaps, because he had so many great goals, didn't he? Maybe we start with you, Melvin. And what was your favourite goal from Rocky?
The one that I wasn't at the stadium would be obviously the Tottenham one in the League Cup. But the one that I was at the stadium was Man United away when he chipped the keeper, beat 3 players in about 2 yards, chipped the keeper. I was at that game. It was fantastic.
Yeah, Ryan's got that one as well. Lobbed the keeper. Yeah, that was a great goal.
I like the one against Villa. Does anyone remember that one?
3-0.
Yeah, the way I thought it was brilliant, that goal.
Yeah, brilliant.
I was at that game and all.
Oh, was you?
I was there.
That was great, great goal.
What about yourself?
We got attacked after the match, actually. Group of us got attacked by a load of Villa fans after the match. I dropped my hot dog and I was gutted. I was starving.
Priorities, Andrew.
I know. But no, what a goal. And that was actually, to be fair, that was the Villa kit that was probably one of the best kits ever. Maybe it's like a copy of the Denmark kit at the time. Yeah. The 80s Denmark kit where it's like in 2 with, beautiful anyway. But yeah, it's a great goal. But my favourite goal was at home versus Middlesbrough, where he literally took on and beat about 5 or 6 Middlesbrough players. He just literally picked the ball up on the right wing, just inside our half, really, and just sort of cut in, just dribbled around. And being there, I was just so exciting. It was just the best goal I've ever seen live, I think, still to this day. I absolutely, because it was Rocastle as well, I just went mad. And absolutely brilliant goal. Brilliant goal.
Yeah, no, that was a brilliant goal. What about yourself, Mark? What do you think your favourite Rocky goal was? A lot to choose from, which is good.
Rocky's goal, yeah, I think the Tottenham one. Yes,
yeah.
Semi-final. I think that's what started us off on a good run and got through to the final. And you could just see emotions on his face. You know, it meant a lot.
He was still a teenager then as well, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was 19.
Yeah, Rocky's quite young.
Yeah.
I think he was 19 when he scored that goal. Yeah, I mean, I
was saying, Mark,
the Middlesbrough one, that was a great goal. Yeah.
Middlesbrough, yeah. Mark, I was just saying before you joined, how frightening is it really that we never really saw the best of David Rocastle? Because I mean, he got his injury in '86, and he was never quite. You know, can you imagine what player he could have? I mean, he's an incredible player anyway. Incredible player, but can you imagine just how quite good he could have been? Because I think he left in '92. 92, yeah. Is that right? To Leeds.
He went to Leeds.
He was only mid-20s then.
Yeah, 25. Yeah, 25.
Can you imagine what a player we could have had if he'd not got that injury? I mean, it's not worth thinking about really, but it's just such a shame when you do think about it, because how great he was, but how great he could have been if he never got that injury.
Exactly.
I mean, it's amazing, really.
And England caps as well. How many England caps he would have got as well?
Yeah. I mean, Shane in the chat says he doesn't know much about Rocky, which, probably a little bit before your time. Did he play much for England? Who could you compare him to in style? And how much is he worth in the market today? Well, I mean, he would be worth...
Like I said.
I mean,
I already said that, didn't I?
Then Rocky would be worth 4 times that. But
over 100 million easy.
He didn't play for England that much, did he? Maybe 17, 18 times, I think it was. He wasn't a regular, was he? Unfortunately, he never seemed to. Whether that was his injury,
he would have gone to Italia 90. He would have gone to Italia 90, but he only just got back to fitness just before it, and he lost his place to David Platt.
Guys, I'm so sorry. I've got to shoot now. Could stay all night and talk about it. But thank you so much for having me on.
No problem at all. It's been a pleasure.
Nice to have you on.
I'll come back another time.
Just give your channel a quick
been-
plug before you go, Amanda, because I know you obviously have a great channel that you've got.
Sorry, I couldn't say that again.
Just give your channel a quick plug before you go, because it's a great
Oh,
channel.
right. Yes, the Highbury Squad with me, Soph and Kev. Come and join us. We do a lot of fan interactions. Most nights we're on. And yeah, the Highbury Squad, come and follow us. But lovely to see you all. Bye, everyone.
Take care, Amanda.
See you later, Amanda.
See you, Mark.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So that's Amanda there for the Highbury Squad. Make sure you check the channel out there. There's some great stuff on there. Kevin Campbell's a regular as well on that channel, quite a lot as well. So yeah, I mean, he didn't really, Rocky didn't really play for England, did he, that much, unfortunately? And I just remember there was, you said about the 1990 World Cup. He was battling to get fit, and he actually scored against Southampton. It was on his birthday, which was 2nd of May. And he scored a goal against Southampton, and we all thought, oh, he's going to get picked for the World Cup squad now. And obviously it didn't quite happen for him. Was he really disappointed about that, Mark? He must have been.
Yeah, well, Rocky, day in, day out, he just wanted to play. He just wanted to play. And, it was down to the management. And England had a good squad there as well. So,
yeah.
And like you said, he was young, trying to break through. Like you said, the injuries put him back a bit. But if he didn't get injuries, like the other guy said, I think he would be in the English squad more often.
Yeah, no, I think he definitely would have been, because he was kind of, I suppose you had John Barnes who played on the left, and you'd had Rocky on the right. That would have been fantastic.
Oh,
what a pair of wingers that would have been.
Yeah,
I know you said we had a good squad in 1990, but it would have been better if Rocky had been in it. You really would.
Yeah,
100%.
He might have took a penalty instead of Waddle, maybe. So you never know. You see, we would have won the World Cup, perhaps. But
you never know. Rocky could even play centre midfield with Gascoigne. That could happen.
Imagine that.
Well, towards the end of his Arsenal career, he played centre midfield, didn't he? A bit towards the end. That last season, right. he was more central, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So he probably could have played there. Actually, I mean, yeah, I don't see why not. Because I mean, he was an athlete, wasn't he? More than anything else.
Box to box. Yeah.
He just didn't stop running, did he?
Energy. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I remember the day.
Sorry.
I remember the day that my brother-in-law told me that Rocky had gone to Leeds. I thought he was joking, taking a mickey. He wasn't an Arsenal supporter, my brother-in-law. So I said, no, we were away at the time. I went, no, because then he didn't know about it. Like you used to get the papers a day late, didn't you, for the news when you were away. I said, shut up. He said, no, I heard it. He's gone. I said, no, they would never sell Rocky. They would never sell Rocky, because I didn't know the injuries and all that. I didn't think it was as bad as all that. I thought, he got an injury, come back, he'd be all right, over a period of time. And I was devastated. When he says, I'm not joking, it's definitely happened. He's gone. I thought, what a loss. I felt down. It was like, oh my God, no. And I don't think I would have felt like that for any other player apart from when I found out Liam Brady was sold. There was no other player I could think of. But for Rocky, he was Arsenal. He was just fantastic. You went to a game to watch him because he got Arsenal and you got Arsenal, and that's what was so good about it.
Yeah, you definitely. Yeah, I mean that's obviously when he left, I was shocked. I think we all were, because you couldn't imagine him playing for anybody else. He was Rocky and he was ours, and you know what I mean. We just couldn't imagine it really. And I know that I've heard a story that he was really upset when he was told that the club had decided to sell him as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
That's how much Arsenal meant to him. So there's a few comments in the chat. Ender has said that the Liverpool programme at the weekend is dedicated to Rocky. Yes, it is. Did you manage to get one, Andrew? Because I know you were looking to get it, wasn't you? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
God, unprofessional. Terrible. Schoolboy error. Yeah. No, I did. I managed to get one in the end, thankfully. I think there's a problem with... I was trying to use I don't want to go boring, but I was trying to use the Amazon Pay, and it wasn't working. And I thought, because it kept coming back out of stock for some reason. But yeah, I just changed it. Yeah, thankfully, thanks to Ryan, I got one. And also, just a shout out to Ender, who's got... says he's got a beautiful copy painting of him from the artist doing it for charity, and I've got one of those as well. Definitely check that out. I think it's Charlie Shanks Charles Shanks
Yeah,
art.
Charlie, yeah,
Charlie
it is
Shanks art.
Charlie.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He is. I've got some stuff off him.
Brilliant.
He's very,
Yeah,
very good.
I've got my print. So yeah, great. Have a look at his shop as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to receiving that program.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's really good, and I know Arsenal maybe have come in for a bit of criticism in the past, haven't they? For maybe not commemorating it enough. So it's great that they've done that this year, and that's really good. And I'm
it's a
get
nice touch. Nice touch.
It is, yeah, it is a nice touch, and it's good that Arsenal have got that little bit of class, haven't they? They care about people that's been involved in a club, and and it's great to see that they've done that.
Definitely
for this weekend for the program, which is good. Let's hope that the team put in a performance to match and get the result as well. That would be good. Hopefully, it might inspire them. But they should all read it beforehand and get them in the get them to understand what playing for Arsenal really means and what it.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of them, I'm not sure if they quite get it these days, do they? Unfortunately, and I said at the beginning, we could maybe do with 2 or 3 Rockies now, couldn't we, in the team to really help us along, because we seem to be lacking in that sort of area with players like that. But yeah, I mean, definitely. Obviously, when I found out, well, I mean, none of us really found out he was ill. Did you know he was ill, Mark, before it all kind of came out in the sort of press, which was just before he died?
No,
wasn't it?
It wasn't. I didn't find out until quite later on when he started sort of getting a bit worse. Because kept in contact with his brothers and family and stuff, but he was really quite quiet, so quite personal. But I did go to his funeral, so I did go to his funeral, so that was a good thing for me, because I had a lot of respect for Rocky. Done a lot for me. He's taught me a lot. So yeah, rest in peace.
No, exactly. I mean, it was obviously a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that he had. And unfortunately, that's what my sister had as well. It's what my sister died of. So I kind of understand what that's about, really, because I've seen my sister go through it. So I know exactly how what a terrible thing that is as well. So that kind of made it a little bit worse for me at the time, having been through it with my sister before, and then knowing that he would have gone through the same, unfortunately, as her. So, but yeah, I mean,
bless you. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, me too, Rich. Sorry about that.
A long time ago.
Sorry.
You never kind of, I suppose, people say time's a healer. I suppose it is, but it isn't as well, is it? Because you never lose that. And I suppose it's good that you don't really, because it's why it's so important, isn't it? Why these people are so important to us all. And, and maybe I have more of an affiliation, if you like, with Rocky because of that, maybe as well. Apart from everything else, that's maybe a little bit extra. That makes me kind of, have a little bit more feeling towards it, maybe, perhaps, I don't know. But I mean, yeah. I remember that North London derby, obviously, against Tottenham was on the day, wasn't it, when it was announced that morning? And was any of you guys at that game? Because that was that was an emotional day, wasn't it?
Yeah, I wasn't there, but I saw it. Yeah, very emotional. Big shock to everyone.
Yeah, it was. I mean, no one really knew, did they, that he was even ill at that point? And then suddenly it's announced that he had passed, and it was like, wow, it was that game.
He's been in Malaysia, hasn't he? He'd been in Malaysia for 2 or 3 years.
Before that, yeah.
That's right,
yeah. He was playing there for a year or 2 before he retired.
Was that the game that they had the minute silence? That game with the Spurs? At the
start of the game, yeah. They was all in the centre circle, wasn't the Arsenal and Tottenham players?
Yeah.
But the Spurs supporters were unbelievable. They were so good.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
They showed what a lovable chap he was. Forget about he wore the red of Arsenal. To them, he was a proper footballer, a proper person.
Yeah.
And the respect they showed was fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
I mean,
we shouldn't forget that.
No, I said that in the video I did yesterday. I mean, massive respect to the Tottenham fans that day, because they respected that whole thing that was going on, didn't they? Really, really well. And
when push comes to shove,
football.
So when push comes to shove, all football fans really do show their respect. I mean, look at what happened at Anfield '89 when we handed out the flowers and everything, and the Liverpool fans were so really grateful, respectful for the way that we had, and Arsenal handled it brilliantly, but all the fans together were excellent. And I think that's happened quite a few times, and there's been horrible tragedies happen throughout sport, and this affects everyone. And can't say enough really about the Spurs fans on the day, because it was a really, really emotional day for all Arsenal fans, and they were spot on, and I think that happens quite a lot. And football fans get a really bad rep, but a lot of the time, we do show our true colours and come together, don't we?
Look at the thing what Richard's done. Richard invites first fans on from all other clubs over this year. He's done it. And everyone we've met has been absolutely top notch, haven't they? You don't know some of them you invite on. They could be anything. And they're really smashing people. We're all got the same thing in our minds. We love football. We support different teams, but we love football. Let's get on with it. And it's brilliant. And it's making me feel what's going on. It makes me, as a human being, feel much better about everything,
Yeah. Absolutely. Just think when you go abroad, like anywhere in the world, right? And you get to your resort, and then you overhear someone at dinner is English, and they start talking about football. You think, oh my God, go straight. You make a beeline for them, because you can chat to them all your whole holiday about football, can't you? Care who they support. Football is a true following in life, isn't it? It doesn't matter who they support. When you're on neutral ground, you can just chat about anything. It's great.
Yeah. It's a universal language, football, isn't it? No matter where you are in the world, if you wear a football shirt. If you go on holiday and you wear a football shirt, you're going to make friends on holiday, because
definitely
talk to you about football, won't they? Whatever team they support, whatever country they're from in the world, and it's brilliant, and it is. And I don't think you get that with anything else, do you? I think football's it's the only sport that you get that in. I think to that same level, really. So I always make sure I wear my Arsenal shirt, because you're going to end up meeting some interesting people, which is always good. But Melvin's right. We've had some great fans on the channel this season, actually, from all other clubs, and it's been really good. And it does, I think we've all been, especially if you was at football in the 1980s in particular, when it could be quite frightening at times. And it's good that deep down, as Melvin said, I think all football fans are the same. Ultimately, we want the best for our club. For 90 minutes, we shout and scream, and you're shouting at them as well, the other fans. But ultimately, when the game's over, it's over, isn't it? You shake hands if you
have
like.
Have a drink with them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I guess it's probably slightly different for you as a player, though, Mark. Was it? Obviously, you would have had a lot of rivalries with the other teams and stuff. Did that kind of carry over outside of off the pitch, or was it forgotten about after you just had a drink?
I would say 80% no, 20% you probably have a few digs at people and they have a few digs at you. But I've played against best mates. As soon as you cross that line, you've got no friends. You don't want to win for your team. Yeah. After the game, you go and have a chat. You have a drink or have a meal with them. That's it. Job done. But once you pass them lines and you're on the pitch, you got no friends.
It's Wheelstone Raider territory. I ain't got no friends. You got no fans.
You got no friends.
Actually, we have to get him on the channel, didn't he?
I used to watch you quite regularly as well in the reserves at Highbury, Mark, because he used to let you in for free at Highbury. I used to when I worked in the city for quite a while there. I used to just pop there straight after work, go walk in for free, watch all the reserves. But it's fantastic times. What brilliant times that were there. I must have said hello to you quite a lot back in the day.
Okay.
Because but he was really friendly. He used to walk down the front after the match, and
that's right.
As they all leaving the pitch, we'd all say hello and all that, and stop and have a chat from time to time. And it was brilliant times. Just miss those. I miss Highbury so much in those days. Really, it was so much more accessible.
Can't be.
It's so much more accessible to.
Yeah. Mark, I used to watch you over London Colney.
Oh my word! What youth days? Yeah.
Just go there on Saturday mornings, I think it was.
Yeah, South East County.
You're right on the touchline, literally on a touchline. I think the parents had to be a bit away or something, if I remember rightly, something like that. And it was fantastic. Right. The football was amazing. It really was. It opened your eyes to, God, this one's coming through. I remember you on the wing. For some reason, I remember you. Right. No, but we wasn't that Rice.
I hope you weren't standing for Pat Rice.
Every time I went there, Mark, there was David Dean there. David Dean.
David. Yes, that's right.
He knew everyone's names, knew the parents' names and everything. And the one who went to Newcastle when United, he was in your team at the time.
Yeah, Andrew Cole. Yeah, that's right.
Andrew Cole. He was in you and him used to play a lot together. I remember. It's fascinating. I would
Yeah,
love to
Yeah,
really enjoy
he
it.
was there week in, week out in the reserves when I was there. We were all watching him. I used to say, I said at the time, he was lightning. He was so good. And I thought,
yeah,
I said to my mate, he used to come with me. I said, he's going to play for England one day, this kid. And it's a shame we couldn't keep hold of him. But obviously, there was a choice
Cool.
really at that point between him and
Yeah.
Kevin Campbell. And they're both great strikers. And it's, you had to let one sort of, if you love someone, you have to set them free, as the old saying goes.
Yeah,
But he didn't have a bad career, did he, old Andy Cole?
I'm not sure
No,
George
didn't,
Graham
did
loved him that much. That might have been why he got rid of him, though. That's the problem, I suppose. But anyway,
Yeah, I
he had a
know.
great career afterwards.
I'm not going to ask you the all the ins and outs, Mark, but I don't think he was flavour of the month for George Graham, was he? Andy Cole, maybe.
That's right. A lot of people take Andrew Cole the wrong way. I think Andrew Cole is a very shy person, very personal.
Mm.
If you treat him how you treat your own friends, he'll get on with it. But Cole, he's a lot of people, a lot of press take his attitude the wrong way. He's a good guy.
Oh,
he's a good person.
Teddy Sheringham does. He takes him the wrong way, doesn't he?
Yeah, Teddy likes him. Yeah.
Mind you, I think Teddy rubs everyone up the wrong way, to be perfectly honest.
He certainly rubs Arsenal fans up the wrong way, doesn't he?
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Did a few things.
Do you listen to the Tuesday Club podcast?
Yeah, very funny. Very funny.
Babies. I mean, they've always got Teddy Sheringham stories every single episode, pretty much at the end, don't they?
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, people write in.
It's very funny, that one. They always make a story up about him. Yeah.
Can I just say something? Just bring up one thing as well about the other side to the David passing, the tragedy of it all, and it's quite weird, really, because he was in line to join Arsene Wenger's staff as a coach in 2000 before the news broke that he was ill and stuff. And obviously, we know what happened. It happened very, very quickly. I mean, he could have been a coach at Arsenal. They really wanted him to bring him in. And the weird thing is, the same thing happened with Jose Antonio Reyes. The summer he died, he was going to be coming to join Arteta's backroom staff.
Wow.
I mean, that's it's just a bit, it's really, really weird how it both happened to both players. Obviously, different generations and different sort of levels of adoration at the club, clearly. But it's just a bit of a shame that it happened twice. It's just very, very sad. Really sad.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I suppose that's sort of strange how that happened with both of them too, isn't it? Then, just as they may have been.
Can I just say one more thing? And I do really apologise. I don't want to. I also had one of my worst moments in a football ground. It was the '89 season, and I thought I was watching David die on the pitch. Then away to Millwall.
Millwall game. Yeah,
I was 10 meters. I was 10 foot away from him. Oh, maybe a bit more. I could see him clearly right in front of me, and I just had a tear coming down my face. I was just like, "What the hell is going on?" I mean, my idol, literally right in front of me. It was just like he's having almost like a fit. His tongue was blocking his airways, and we all know Gary Lewin saved his life. He had to break his jaw to pull the obstruction out of the way. And I was there in front of it all. And to be fair, we all know what Millwall fans' reputation was like in the 1980s, and a lot of it was warranted because I went to a lot of Millwall games because my brother-in-laws were both Millwall fans, and but they were fantastic that day as well because they knew what was happening. They weren't, you could think that some fans would start, chanting like what happened with the Stoke fans with Ramsey, etc. It was horrible behaviour, but Millwall fans were spot on that day, to be fair. But it was such a shock. I mean, it's a horrible thing to witness being there when that happened as well. So thank God for Gary Lewin, on that day because he did his job immaculately. What a job he did that day.
God, what a physio he is as well.
Yeah,
I think every at our club now, I don't think a lot of the players will be injured the way they are if he was still there.
No, I totally agree with you. totally agree with you. And it went downhill as soon as he left. Really, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With people being out for a couple of weeks. Yeah. He was at England whilst he was at Arsenal, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Well, we had a couple of
jobs.
We had Fred Street before. He was England's physio and Arsenal's physio as well, wasn't he?
That's it, yeah. And we had the doctor. The doctor, someone who was doctor at Arsenal, doctor of the England squad as well.
Yeah.
Can't remember his name.
Yeah, I know you mean. Yeah,
I can't remember that.
But yeah, no. So we used to have a good medical team. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be quite so effective nowadays, does it? Really? But anyway,
but they're not. Could it be out for a couple of weeks and then a year later? No, still don't know when he's going to be back. You know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I mean, that incident you mentioned there, Andrew, at Millwall. I mean, I remember that, and I've read somewhere. I don't know if it's in maybe Rocastle's book that I've got, or somewhere that apparently he never felt the same about playing after that. That really affected him quite badly. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah.
I read it somewhere.
He was technically dead for a couple of minutes. He was technically dead for a couple of minutes before Gary Lewin worked his miracles. And I mean, it's going to affect you.
Well, because it's strange that up till that point, he hadn't missed a game for about 2.5 years. He played every single match in every single competition. And then within about a month of that happening, he suddenly was out of the team with his knee injury. And whether the two was connected, I'm not sure. But I just remember reading somewhere, it might even be Wrighty's book, perhaps. I can't remember where it is. I read it somewhere that apparently that really affected him badly, which you can understand why, of course. You know, I mean, was you aware of that, Mark? Did he sort of say anything to you about that?
No, I wasn't aware of that at all. No, it's the first time I've heard that.
I need to find out where I read it. I read it somewhere. But I mean,
it still affects me, to be perfectly honest, but just watching it. So can you imagine it must have affected him terribly, really.
Right.
I mean, I had a similar thing with some food getting stuck in my throat and I couldn't breathe for so long. It's very, very scary. It's a horrible feeling, I'll tell you. And especially happening in front of thousands of people on a football pitch. I mean, it's bound to have its effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, so it isn't a surprise that it would have affected him. But yeah, I'll have to find out where it was I read that, you know, because that's always stuck in my head. It was a long time ago, and that's just always really stuck in my head. That, and then because he then started being out of the team very soon after that with his knee injury, and whether or not it was connected, I don't know. But
you never know, do you?
No. I mean, sometimes it's logical, isn't it? You know, sometimes your injuries are worse, you know, because maybe if mentally you're not quite where you want to be, it makes your injuries maybe slightly worse, doesn't it, as well? So I don't know whether that had a part in it at all. But I also remember as well something, and again, it was when he was out of the team, probably 1990-ish, where George Graham had, you know, he had his column in the match program, and obviously Rocastle hadn't been playing because he'd been injured. And I remember reading his thing in the program one day, and he had said something about that he'd been struggling with his breathing in training and stuff like that. And at the time you think, oh, okay, you know, was that connected to the tongue, to the Millwall, or was it maybe something connected to obviously what happened later on with his illness? I mean, I just remember reading that in the match program at the time and thought that was quite a strange thing to be in the match.
Really unusual.
Yeah, I think he was talking about obviously Rocastle because he hadn't been playing and people had been asking, you know, when's he going to be fit, when's he going to play, and that kind of stuff. And so he put something in the program about, you know, he'd been having a few like breathing issues, and that was another reason why he wasn't quite ready to play. So, I mean, was you aware of that, Mark, as well?
No, well, the thing is with Arsenal, you know, if something like that, they always keep it in house. You know, they don't really want to go in public and stuff. But you just don't know, do you? You know. They always got the best interest for the players, really. And if Rocky said that he didn't want to tell no one or keep it quiet, you know, you just don't know.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's probably what it was. Shane in the chat there says it looks like Rocky was a leader. Yeah, he definitely was.
Definitely was, yeah.
Like so many other players in the team back then. Yeah, that's true. And he's got a question for you there, Mark. Shane, as he says, what is your opinion of the leadership of the current Arsenal squad? That's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I will say out of the 11, I think there's only one leader in that team. and he's only just signed for us, and that's Tierney.
Do you think Odegaard is a pretty good leader? He's like a low-key leader. I think he's. Have you seen those really good videos? Where they got the mic on a player, and the Odegaard one. He's not scared of ordering people about, and he spent the whole match ordering sort of Lacazette, telling him what to do and where to go and where to be.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
He's got elements of it, and he's a Norway captain, hasn't he? And
that's right.
I suppose the only other one is David Luiz, but we haven't got him for very long. But he's a fairly good guy to have to organise.
Yeah,
I mean, he's obviously.
They say Luiz is in the change room very good. You know, it's not just that old experience base. He gets on well with the youngsters. You know, gives them good advice. So you know, he's probably needs someone like that in that change room as well.
Yeah,
I think with certain only one player that's got longevity at Arsenal, certain longevity, and that is Tierney. We haven't got the other guy yet. He might even sign for us.
No,
and,
I know.
As you say, maybe Luiz, in a year, might be another year, that could be it. And that's if he plays every game next year. You want someone who's going to play every game or near it, and who's going to be with us another 5 or 6 years. So I'd love him to sign it. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not too sure if that's going to happen or not.
I've got a bit of hope for Saliba as well. He seems to be a good leader. He's only a young guy, but don't forget Tony Adams was only a young guy when he was captain. So he looks like he's really getting into shape this year at Nice. They've been transformed since he's been there. So fingers crossed that he might turn out to be a good leader on the pitch as well.
You guys, what do you think of Gabriel? Do you think he's a leader, or he can be a leader?
I think he's a great defender. I'm not sure about his leadership. It's still early days, but I think he's a great defender. He's in the making.
It depends what his English is like as well. I mean,
exactly.
Learning English. Yeah. If he learns English and he can communicate well, then I can see he's got the stature, hasn't he, in the team? I think when he plays.
Yeah, I mean, he's not scared to get involved with anything. You know, he seems like if give him time, he might just, you know.
Yeah, I like on that mind captains as well. I like a central defender as a captain because they see the game in front of them, and I think more in a position to be that leader. I think if you're a striker, everything's behind you a lot of the time.
Yeah, you've got to have a good voice to shout as well when you're right down in the centre forward area. Yeah, it's got to be a centre half. I think, you know, he sees everything, and then he'll tell the player. He can tell the players everything what's going on.
Yeah, and when you're shouting as a forward, you're facing the wrong way.
You know what? Who else was good when you watched those videos? Sorry, Matt Ryan was really, really good.
Matt Ryan.
A goalkeeper's another one, I suppose.
Matt Ryan.
Everything's in front of him. What's going on?
On that video, he was shouting in Portuguese and Spanish as well, wasn't he? The defenders.
I thought
that was pretty amazing. That was great. That was to watch.
Most of our players
he's a good player. I like that, Ryan.
In Portuguese, so he's done well.
I know.
I suppose when
it's really impressive.
Unfortunately, because you have to learn all the languages because the dressing room's full of different languages, isn't it? I mean, Arteta speaks 4 or 5 languages, isn't it? So it's just a modern day thing with football,
so it goes
these days, I think. Joe's in the chat. He says, "Hi guys, how you doing, Joe?" And he says he never watched him, obviously Rocky, but heard he was a fantastic player. I think he was a bit young, Joe. Unfortunately, you missed out on Rocky there because you certainly missed a treat.
Get yourself on YouTube, Joe.
Yeah, watch some videos.
Definitely watch some videos.
Amazing player.
And he said Ryan played for Valencia, I think.
Yeah, that's.
Did he before he went to Brighton?
I think he might be right actually.
He might I think footballers tend to learn languages now, don't they? Just because all their mates speak different languages, I suppose they have to, don't they? But I mean, Matt Ryan did come across good in that video, actually. But then I think goalkeepers are very vocal, anyway, aren't they? They have to organise it in front of them, don't they? So I think that's just what they do. But I'd like a centre half as captain. So Gabriel, for me, has got the potential. I think he's still too young and inexperienced. But I think that in the future I can see it possibly. Because he
leads by example, Richard, can't you? He leads by example. That's one captain. So I wouldn't mind him as captain at all.
No, I don't maybe think yet. I think maybe yet's a little bit early, perhaps. But certainly in the future, I can definitely see that being a possibility. But we'll see how he develops and stuff like that. I think it's a bit early to say. But I mean, sort of going back to kind of Rocky's time, there was so many leaders in that team, wasn't there, at that time?
Oh God, yeah.
Pretty much 11 in the team every week, didn't you? You didn't need a captain. Yeah. Everybody was
it was the team ethic as well, and the camaraderie in that team. Everyone would do anything for anyone else, wouldn't they? They were all together. I mean, they were all socialising together, as we know, Tuesday Club. But they were together. They were bonded. They were brought up the Arsenal way. They had Arsenal running through, and they would do anything for each other, and that went a long way. And we've all heard the stories about Tony Adams having players up the wall by the neck just to give them a warning before they went out on the pitch. You know, it's the Lee Dixon, wasn't it, that said that?
Yeah.
Spurs game.
Yeah. Spurs London derby. North London derby.
Once you cross that line, you need 11. You need 11 warriors out there. Once you cross that line, and that's what we had.
And Rocastle, he was the first on the scene. If any of his teammates were hard, tackled badly or whatever, he'd be straight over there. He was one of the first on the scene, backing them up.
The Old Trafford game.
Yeah, amazing.
Mark,
I'd love to have that.
Does it surprise you, Mark, that with Saka getting so much stick on the pitch, the left back normally kicks rubbish out of him for the whole game, that none of the Arsenal players go up to the left back and have a little word or do something? Does it, or any of the players?
Yeah.
Doesn't it worry you? Really?
Yeah,
he does.
No protection from the Arsenal,
he's on the wrong side of the pitch.
Yeah.
No one takes responsibility, Mark, do they?
Like you said, in the Rocky days, no one could have kicked it. They would have backed each other up.
Exactly.
That wouldn't have happened. That would never happen.
I heard a story about him. I know. Do you know what? I'm not even going to go there because I can't remember the proper details of it, who it was, what team it was. But I remember a player tried to take the piss with Rocky and gave him a real kick, and Rocastle took one, got up and just carried on. It happened again a couple of minutes later, and he literally got this player, because the player was on the floor as well, and he just towered above this player and just said something like, you're taking the piss, or he wasn't scared of him whatsoever. Gave him a word in his ear. He never touched him for the rest of the game. And I just wish I could tell. I wish I could remember to find the details of who it was and what team it was, but I can't. But that was him all over it. He was, like I said, strong as an ox, but he had the skill and the balance and the grace and the technical ability of one of the best Brazilian players. He had it all. Yeah.
He was definitely.
I'm hoping that player he did that to might have been Steve McMahon. That'd be good, wouldn't it, if it was him? Because he kind of.
I hate him. Oh, I hate him so much.
Yeah,
him and John Aldridge and John Aldridge like throwing away David O'Leary's hand and.
Let's hope it was. Let's hope it was Steve McMahon. So let's pretend it was, because that'd be a better story. Because
it'll be more even if it's a lie.
Yeah, exactly. Senior chat says another question for Martin. He said, was training taken more seriously? Today's training seems a joke and a bit of five-a-side. I suppose, is it because the game's maybe more physically demanding, perhaps, than it was? Would you say?
Yeah, the game's changed so much now. It's completely different. In our days training, all you're probably doing is about fitness work. You've got to be fit. You've got to be fit. You've got to be strong. But I think now it's more technical sort of things in the game, and not as much. Suppose, like you look at the Arsenal team now, we're not strong enough. We're not physical enough. It's gone out. It's gone out the team.
Yeah,
you need an old school, say not manager, but player coming in and saying, look, this is how Arsenal is. We're not a soft touch. Go out and play.
Yeah,
it's all about GPS and stats nowadays.
It is. Yeah, in your day, Mark, did that come from George Graham first and foremost? Did he instill that? Because we just said, that the team did have a lot of leaders on the pitch. Did that come from George Graham, or did the players maybe have that naturally, or was it a bit of both?
I would say George Graham brought it into us as well. You know, some of them players, but you've got to have it in you. You know, you've got to be a winner. You know, I think most of the team, most of the squad, you know, mentally they were tuned in. They didn't want to lose. You know, and they once you cross that line, you're going to battle for the club, battle for the team.
Where do you think that's gone?
Put together.
I think because the staff, the whole club, it's completely changed, and the football's changed, and you know, mentality is not there. That's what I think, anyway. We're a bit of a soft touch at the moment.
Yeah,
we are. Richard, all the players that George put together and bought, he got rid of some and he bought some. All those players in his squad, every one of them was hungry.
Yeah.
You see, that may not have been hungry when he first got there. So he got rid of those, allegedly. So, and the ones all the kids coming through, and the players that are young that are just making it, they were hungry to play. They didn't look backwards, they looked forward. They wanted a career in football, they wanted a career with the Arsenal. And they gave 100%. And it proved it. It was very successful. One of the reasons it was successful was because of their hunger.
Look at the back five. Winterburn, Wimbledon.
That's why we need to bring through
Stoke.
Yeah.
You know, Keown, Evan, all them. They wanted to improve themselves, and they come to the club and look what happened.
They didn't want to fail at Arsenal, did they? They got their chance at Arsenal, and they didn't want to fail at Arsenal. They wanted to stay at Arsenal. They wanted to stay at that level. And that's why I like, in lots of ways, that's why I like Chambers and who we brought through. In a way, that's why I like Holding, because they came up from lower sides, and they really want to stay at the club at that level, and they try that a bit harder. And Joe Carey, AFC Joe Carey, has said that he wants to see Miguel Aziz in the team. I think we've got the best crop of academy youngsters since the 1980s at the moment. And I think we should bring some of these through and just see how they get on, whether they sink or swim. Because you literally can't teach that mentality of a player coming through the club from a young age 8 or 9 or 10, and working their way to the first team and wanting to stay there and wanting to keep their place for the next match and then the next match and then the next match. They want to play their heart out for the club that they've been at for their whole lives. And I think
day one,
we've got that real good quality at the moment coming through. We can't waste it. You know, if we let Balogun walk out, well, I don't think we are letting him walk out. I think he's being badly advised to walk out, to be perfectly honest, with his agent. And it's going to, like Wenger said, it's going to happen more and more often, unfortunately, even with the youngsters. But I think if we don't give these guys a chance, like Aziz, like Balogun, like Muller, who's coming through, I don't think he's quite ready yet, actually. But we've got quite a few good players there, just on the cusp. And if we don't try them out in the first team, we'll never know, and we might end up losing them.
Exactly.
They're a good couple.
That's what George Graham brought all them youngsters through. Look what he done with Rocky, you know.
100%. And within 3 years, we've won the league. And I really wish we could do that again. I just wish we could, Arteta would be brave enough just to give them a chance, because I've been banging the drum, and they, Melvin and Richard know this. I was banging the drum for ESR to come into the team, saying it could have saved us all, tens of millions of pounds in the transfer market, and it worked out. And luckily, but it might be the same with Aziz, because I love the look of that guy.
Yeah,
and if he comes in and shines against Thomas alongside Thomas Partey, that could save us another 30-40 million pounds to replace Xhaka eventually. I'm not saying immediately play every week in, week out, but at least have him on the bench so he can have 20 or 30 minutes every match.
Gradually get him into it.
That's what. Keeping away from playing. People say they keep away from playing too much because of Owen and Wilshere injuries and stuff, but coming on from the bench, even the first team squad, exactly. They need to be in the squad.
Exactly what I said.
Ryan says Mark and Matt Smith as well. Matt Smith's playing pretty well, isn't he? Actually, he's looking.
Charlton.
Is he on loan?
Good.
Charlton
on loan.
Yeah.
He can pass the ball, can't he, Richard? He can put a ball through, can't he?
Yeah, he can.
The thing is with him though, he was playing it. I think he was playing a lot under the manager who got Lee Bowyer, but he's gone to Birmingham now. So it's going to be interesting to see whether the new guy Oh, I don't actually know who's gone in there to replace Bowyer, to be fair. But whether he plays him, so fingers crossed he will.
Yeah, that's it. That's what you want. Want him to keep playing.
Yeah, because
I know there's been a few.
good.
I know there's been a few goals, but I'd like to just mention one again. Rocastle, one of my favourites as well, was the way to Liverpool in the League Cup when we drew 1-1.
Yeah. Oh, what a goal
that was!
Yeah.
The net was in place. If there wouldn't have been a net, it'd have still been going now. That ball. What a shot!
What a
amazing
cannonball that was.
Oh,
hardly any
phenomenal.
backlift, wasn't
And
there?
that's when no one could score against Liverpool at Anfield. No one was allowed to, and he just took it. And went bang, and that was it. Thank you very much. Brilliant, great memory.
I went into school the next day, so proud. You know,
we were robbed in
all
that
the Liverpool fans at school.
We were robbed in that game. That was in the League Cup, wasn't it? And that goal put us 1-0 up, and then Liverpool got a dodgy penalty to get it to 1-1. And it was a replay.
That's it. Was it Barnes?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
it was Barnes. I think. Yeah,
I think so.
Dodgy
Yeah.
penalty. Wow.
See, Barnes and Rocastle had a few battles against each other, didn't they? Actually, in that over that few years, didn't they? The good battles that they had actually, playing against each other, very similar kind of style of players they were. So yeah, that was quite interesting. I mean, for me, I think Rocastle probably scored 3 of the top 5 best goals I've ever seen live. Actually, I would say the one against the one against Middlesbrough was just incredible. I think that's one of the greatest goals that ever been scored. That one, the one Old Trafford when he brushed off Paul Ince, brused off Brian Robson, and chipped Schmeichel. Yes, I don't want to brush Schmeichel's head, but don't worry about that. Rocastle's goal. And then obviously that one against when he chested it down and chipped it over the keeper at 30 yards. I mean, those 3 goals are just incredible. Probably 3 of the greatest goals I've ever seen live. Probably only Dennis Bergkamp goals are probably topped them. That one at Leicester when he got his hat trick, Bergkamp, when he and then obviously the one at Newcastle where he just greatest goal ever scored. But yeah, I mean, Rocastle probably scored 3 out of the top 5 I've ever seen. I can't think of many better than those 3 goals that Rocastle scored. There, just unbelievable. I mean, he did that. It wasn't just a one-off. He did it regularly, didn't he?
Yeah.
He didn't score lots and lots of goals, but he scored a lot.
When he did, it was still special. Yeah, you remembered them. Yeah,
and they were important.
But don't forget, assists weren't really counted back then either. There weren't any stats for assists or anything. Yeah, and he would have had tons of those.
Yeah.
You know, when he did that chip against Man United, as I say, I went to the game, and my sadness for me was I was in the Stretford end, couldn't get in anywhere else.
Oh no!
I had to stand there with me mate and not move an inch. It was like, one of those.
We were going mad at that went in. That was a great celebration. That game when that went in there. We was going mental.
Stand there like a lemon.
I bet afterwards you lot was going mental as well, wouldn't you? Afterwards.
Afterwards, got back in the car.
But the funny thing was about when I was talked about Millwall earlier, that game when he, that horrible one. He was turned down by Millwall. 13, I think, 13 or 14. They turned him down, said he weren't good enough.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like the bloke that didn't sign the Beatles. You know, I bet they feel bad.
Well, no, you're right.
There was a documentary on years ago about the man and wife. They were a management agency, and they didn't take on Elvis Presley. They interviewed him, and they go, "I suppose you're a bit." Upset now you never took him on. I went, no, not really. No, really. Really.
I know. I went to some studios where he was Johnny Cash was set to be the Elvis Presley, if you know what I mean. But he was late for the meeting. Elvis turned up, and the rest is history. I mean, Johnny Cash didn't have a bad career either, to be fair. But he was going to be singing the songs written for Elvis Presley. He was going to be launched as the Elvis Presley of the time.
I cannot imagine anyone else being as good as Elvis Presley and singing those songs.
I mean, it worked out. It worked out bloody well for both of them, to be fair.
Yeah.
But, I thought the Pet Shop Boys did a good cover of "Always on My Mind" though, Melvin.
Oh, true. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I like a bit of Johnny Cash.
I think my first 7-inch was Pet Shop Boys, West End Girls.
Oh,
yeah.
I remember that, yeah.
I've got tickets to see them. It was supposed to have been last year, but obviously it was cancelled, and now they put it on to 2022. So I'm hoping to get to see the Pet Shop Boys because they're pretty good. Them they made some.
I saw them a few years ago because my ex was a Take That fan, and they were supporting Take That at Villa Park. So I saw Pet Shop Boys, and then I was quite happy to leave, but she wanted to stay and watch Take That. Unfortunately.
Well, yeah, the Pet Shop Boys are better. But he supports Arsenal, doesn't he? The guy who plays keyboards in the Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
And it's a coincidence we had the 1-0 to the Arsenal. That was Pet Shop Boys, wasn't it? That song.
That's where it came from, wasn't it? Because that song was in the charts at the time.
Yeah.
No, the story goes. I went to the game where it all started. That was the semi-final against PSG.
Paris, wasn't it? Yeah.
And the French started singing it. LA, whatever it is, PSG. And then the Arsenal fans, when we scored, started singing, and they just carried on from there. Brilliant.
All right.
Yeah, it was that game.
Brilliant.
Wow.
I wish first saw Ginola. I thought, what a player.
I wish the Arsenal fans carried on with Tom's Diner. Remember that song, Tom's Diner? When you go, remember that? I love that at the North Bank.
Did it sound differently?
Sorry?
I can't believe they said that American songs were coming out. That was Elvis Presley, the Something of You.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Where the hell
that got to be
from?
Arsenal? What was that got
No
to be
idea.
Arsenal?
It's Sweet Carolina, isn't it? It's Sweet Carolina at the end of the games they play now, isn't it? At the end.
Yeah.
Which is all right, isn't it? It's not bad.
Just to change the subject
It must be
slightly.
Stan Kroenke's favourite song.
Kroenke, yeah, I'm not here. I'm not here and I don't care, probably. I don't understand. At half time and at full time, they tell you the score. I mean, what's all that about? If you cannot remember the score, you are not when you go to watch a football game. Sorry, because you'll get home and get the result.
Mind you, I went to a few in the 90s after. I went to a few in the 90s where I was still probably under the influence of a few different things, so I might not have remembered some of the scores after the game, but I had a good excuse.
Yeah.
But there was one game I went to. We played Manchester United. This was 1985 at Highbury, and I was on a clock end, and it was in the first half, and we all became aware that there was a load of Man United fans on the clock end, and it was all going to kick off. And we were sort of made aware this was going to happen, and suddenly there was a big surge, and there was bodies everywhere on the clock end, and it didn't go on for very long. And then everything kind of settled down. The police came in and everything like that, and then. Obviously, the game carried on and the game finished, and we hadn't seen any goals. So I went home. I was on the train going home, and I was reading the program on the underground. And I think he's a West Ham fan, got on. I said, "Oh, how'd you get on today?" I said, "Oh, it was 0-0 draw." Oh, okay, he said. Anyway, watched it on Match of the Day that night, and while all that fighting had been going on the clock end, Man United had scored. Gordon Strachan scored at the other end, in front of the North Bank. Man United had scored. I didn't even know they'd goal. But yeah, that was a nightmare. That, but yeah, so you don't always know the score, I suppose. But yeah, I suppose you should do. Really.
I went up to Old Trafford years ago with the firm, a few people I used to work with, right? And this guy came.
I thought you meant the West Ham firm then. For a minute.
No. And I never knew this geezer, knew him for years. Never knew he was a football supporter. I never knew he was an Arsenal supporter. And on the way going up in the train, he was digging me. Oh yeah, Arsenal's going to do this. We've got to do that. We've got to do that. I don't even know you're an Arsenal supporter, mate. Anyway, before the game starts, we all get bits of paper. They put it in a bucket, and you choose a couple of quid in each. Choose who's the first goal scorer, right? So we're watching the game. Anyway, it's 0-0. We're holding on. All of a sudden, Strachan scores. You reminded me of something. And this guy, who was supposed to be an Arsenal, goes, "Yes." He said, "I've got Strachan." We could have killed him. We could have killed him. He had Strachan in the lottery, and he's happy that Strachan scored because he. No. We
played Millwall in the cup once. In the I think I can't remember what year it was.
87.
88. Yeah, we lost against Millwall.
Was it that game?
Yeah, I was in with the Millwall fans though. I couldn't get a ticket for the Arsenal fans, and I was quite young at the time. And I went with my brother-in-laws, who I mentioned earlier, who are both Millwall fans. So they got tickets in the Millwall end. And I bought the brand new Arsenal shirt at the time. I had an Arsenal scarf. But obviously, I had it under a coat. I had it on under a coat, and I was like petrified. The bloke in front of me, this massive bloke, built like a brick shithouse, right? He stood up not long after kickoff. I held up the Arsenal shirt, and his son, he's only a little kid, like set fire to it with a lighter, and I held it up right in front of me, saying, "Fuck the liar!" Like basically, really going for it. Like, "Fuck Arsenal, fuck you!" Really foul-mouthed, like tirade. And I was like right behind him, thinking, sinking further and further into my seat, thinking, I wish I weren't here. The only time I wished I wasn't at Highbury for a football match. Bloody hell, it was a real event.
That was the game that Kennedy scored, didn't he? He had a great game, Kennedy, I think, that game. He might have scored 1 or 2 against
Mark Kennedy it was it Mark Kennedy?
That's it, Mark Kennedy.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, he really had played well against us.
Terry Erlock was in the team around that time, and Sheringham and Cascarino as well. Yeah. They had a pretty good team at that point. They got up to the first division, didn't they?
They got a season or two. Yeah, they got promoted to the division that season.
Yeah,
we knocked them out of the cup and they got promoted. Yeah, there was a bad atmosphere. I was in the seats that day, and Ryan said, honestly, part of the Green Street. Going
to cut people up bad. Give them a Chelsea smiler, Melvin.
And, I'll plead the fifth, all right? I'll plead the fifth, right?
He loves it when you guys tell stories of the matches you attended. Perfect guess. Thanks for tuning in, Shane. Good to thanks for the comments as well. But yeah, I mean, we've been to some games over the years, I suppose. I mean, it must be different, Mark, from your point of view. Obviously, being a player and on that side of it, how does the atmosphere kind of work with that side of it? Because obviously, when you're on the terraces, as it was in them days, things could get quite heated, shall we say, at times. What was it like for you guys on the pitch when you were seeing stuff like that happening?
Yeah, well, when it happened we really concentrate on the game, really. I know it's a funny thing, but when you're playing the game, we don't really notice all that. We just get on with it. But, we're here at the end of the game, we hear what's happened, and you think, oh, gosh, really? Is that what happened? Sometimes you just block it out and get on with the game. Yeah, but there has been some. I know there's been some lively stuff going on. Yeah, not good.
Yeah, they used to.
But is it
a bit tasty?
Not so much. Taking that aside, Mark. Taking that aside, when you go out on the football pitch, don't you necessarily not play as well away because you're not used to the pitch, or it's a bit hard, or is it because you're a bit psychologically worried about the crowd cheering and not giving you the home crowd, not is against you rather than for you? Does that play in you at all, or it's just one of those things?
No, I think so. I think when you play away from home, especially when you got a packed ground, and say you've only got 2,000 away supporters, then sometimes them supporters get overcrowded with their other fans singing. You just don't, and then you start getting panicky, and if you're not winning, it's even worse. Confidence goes, then the team drops off, and then you lose. You think, oh no, away games definitely affects you. Definitely, I think.
Yeah.
What about on the other side of that, though? For example, I mean, some players stick off the home fans, don't they? At home games, for example, certain players have over the years, haven't they? I mean, that must have a real negative impact on the way that they play, surely. I mean, I can remember a few players over the years. Paul Vasson, I remember once getting absolute terrible abuse from the Arsenal fans. And
God, yeah, you do. You do.
Tony Adams did in the early days.
It's up to the player, or your character. Sometimes I've got loads of stick as well. Sometimes it affects me. Some players it don't affect. It's just it's way the actual person inside how you feel inside and out. But it's some players, especially if you're young as well. I feel sorry for you get stick like now. You got the youngsters giving stick. I don't know why they're giving him stick for. They're still learning the game. Give them a little bit of a chance. But, when they get stick,
they should play with earplugs in. They should play with earplugs in. That'd be much better.
You wouldn't get your team, would you?
I'm joking. I know. I wasn't being serious. No.
I mean,
I remember Tony Adams getting real pelters in his early days when he first came into the team. He was like,
not really from Arsenal.
No, England. I remember him getting it for England.
Yeah, England.
Yeah, when he first broke into the team, he was a little bit, like Bambi on ice to start off with. He had a few front quite.
First game, he
stuck with him.
Minutes, didn't he?
I remember a lot of the fans around me where I was standing you know, as well. When I first started not regularly, but when I was young, when I first started to go into some matches, you know, him getting, you know, and it's ridiculous to think about it now, because imagine back in the day as well, if you had Twitter and all that sort of stuff back in those days as well. I mean, it could kill players' careers, you know, if you got, and I'm sure it does now in loads of cases.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. I've never understood the benefit as a fan of giving your own players abuse at the game where you're there. Yeah, you might think they're having a bad game, but don't do it when the game's going on, because they're not going to play better, are they? Because
exactly.
I've never done it once in my whole entire life. I've never abused one of our players at a game. Never.
If the team's played badly, but there's no point getting on the players' back, because that's not going to make it better, is it? I mean, it's just obvious. Just
frustration comes out. You know, it's in the game. You've got to take it. For a player, you've got to take it. You know, that's how it is.
Mark, did you know?
But it's not. I just can't understand.
It's not right. Yeah, understand.
What's the point of doing that to your own players? You know, put the opposition players off first, and then support your own team. And if afterwards you're not happy with how they play, then that's different. The game's finished, and maybe let them know then, but not where the game's going on. I've never understood.
Mark, you must have known Gus Caesar, and when he was in the youth team, he was seen as a real prospect, wasn't he? Really, really.
Yeah.
And he was in the England youth setup, everything, and he got slaughtered, didn't he? After one mistake.
He had I think a few games he had for Arsenal, and he got stick, and that probably affected him as well. It definitely, his confidence went down.
He must have never recovered mentally, surely. No. That must have really badly affected him.
That's right. That's what sometimes this happens, you know. If you look at Adams got stick loads of stuff. He just went on.
But cut it out. You must have known Gus quite well, I should imagine.
I don't know him as such, but I did sort of YTS know when he was in the first team, and
I felt really sorry for him, to be honest with you, because
he got a lot of stick.
Big and powerful. I've always wanted to get him on my show. I'd love to have a chat with him, because he was really well respected. He was as a youngster coming through, but he got slaughtered. And I don't think he ever recovered mentally from it. His career just literally went off a precipice, didn't it?
No, he went to Scotland. He went in Scotland.
Yeah, he played in Scotland.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah,
career. He played more European football than us at one stage. So the team he did, I think they qualified. I've met him actually, Gus. I met him after he played, not long after he played the Arsenal. What a lovely chap. Spent time
I'd love to have a chat with him. Genuinely,
really nice. You can try and get him on. He's a really nice guy.
I've tried hundreds of times. I haven't had any replies yet. I'd love him if he ever hears this, Gus. Please come on my show. I want to chat with you. So.
Don't you're an Arsenal fan, because otherwise that might put him off. I think he's going to get a load of stick.
No, I would never give him stick. Honestly, he was a bit of a cult hero at one stage. Of Gus Caesar. I think
if you have a word with him, I think you'll laugh about it. You know, it's in the game. You know, you've got to take it.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, it was that cup final, wasn't it, against Luton, where he made those mistakes, and I think he never really recovered from that. I mean, Melvin, we was at his debut against Man United, wasn't we? We spoke about that before. When Charlie Nicholas scored. That was his debut.
It went over in the mud. The ball just went over in the mud, didn't it, Richard? I mean, I went to that game, and someone said to me, he says, we've got a new right back playing today. I went, he says, not too sure about it. And he wasn't in that game. He didn't play particularly well. I think they had Jesper Olsen on the left wing, and he never got within 40 yards of him. How he never got beat, I don't know. He must have done something right, but it was just a bit strange. But we done all right as a team. We nicked the goal, one up there. That was lovely. And it was just a shame that he did it in the final, the worst time to do it, in the last few minutes of the final. And it did affect him, because I think he played another 3 or 4 games after the final. And again, he made a couple of mistakes. And that obviously something to do with the final mistake, confidence. He was on confidence. He had the ability, obviously, just unlucky that he'd done that then. It could have happened to one of the Arsenal players. Clichy, I remember, against Birmingham away, a very important game. If we won that, we might have won the league. When Gallagher sat in the middle of the park at the end of the game. He gave a stupid penalty away. Absolutely stupid. No one talked about it. But he was lucky. People got about it, and he just carried on.
Sorry, Rich.
Yeah.
Richard, I've just got I'm going to have to go because I've got to pick someone up now. Because
no.
I had a meeting before my girls' team that had to cancel their football season, so I've got to go and pick someone up now. So I'm sorry about that. But
no.
thanks for having me on the show.
Real pleasure.
And I hope to see you all soon.
Yeah,
no,
hope so.
Okay.
Really good.
Anytime you're welcome,
Thank you very
anytime.
much.
Cheers, Mark.
Okay then. You take care then.
Cheers, Mark. All the
Cheers,
best.
Mark.
Bye.
Coming on.
Bye.
See you soon. So that's Mark. There's great to have him on. Get a nice insight on the other side of the defence, if you like. You know, we're fans and we see the game from maybe one perspective. So it's always good to speak to former players, and especially one that did play with Rocky, of course, who actually cleaned his boots as well, even which was a nice story as well, wasn't it?
If it was me, I would have nicked the boots.
I know, you beat me to it, mate. You beat me to it. I certainly would have done. I'd do anything for that bloke. I still miss him now, honestly. I still think about him all the time. Like I say, I've got a picture on me of that painting on my wall, and I just love the guy. And whenever I do get numbers on the back of my shirt, the only one I've ever had that's not number 7 is Kieran Tierney, funnily enough, because I love his attitude as well. But if I ever do get a number on the shirt, which I hardly ever do, but it's always got to be number 7, like this one I've got on now. And it's for the great man. I miss him a lot, you know. And he'd only be 53 now. He'd only be 53. Amazing. You know, he could still be at the club. You know, he could be, you know, a top coach.
A manager.
He could have been. We never know, will we?
He'd still been playing in this team, Andrew. I would have thought.
Yeah, you're right.
What have we got now?
It's so sad, though, isn't it? 53.
Very sad. I think that I don't know, but I reckon when he was at school, whatever sport he'd done, he was probably the best at. I can imagine him being a cricketer, being whatever he done, he was probably a successor because he had it. He had the whole idea of it all. He was built properly. He was. He had it all. He had, ball to eye, probably eye to hand as well. And he could have been a film star the way he looked as well. Let's face it. That smile of his.
He was a good.
Well, can you imagine the marketing? He's like, he's marketing now, and his what's it called? You know, when they get the profile money for his image rights, image rights. There you go. Can you imagine how much he'd get for that now because of his good looks and everything? He'd be a superstar because of the way he played, the way he looked, everything. And do you know what? It really nails down what you've got to do to become such a great player like he was, and his attitude and everything. And you can hear Ian Wright talk about it all the time. When he was in Southeast London, he used to make his own way to London Colney. You know how far that is? Like at the age of 14, he used to get the bus. Yeah, it's miles for a 14-year-old every single day. His mum, couldn't take him all the time and all that. He had to make his own way there. And he did it every day. And whilst Ian Wright has said in the past, like he was, going out with girls and drinking and stuff and doing things he shouldn't have been doing, wondering why, he hadn't made it as quick as David Rocastle. And that's the reason why he was all mentally so strong as well. And to do that at that young age, in those days, was just shows you the dedication he had.
Well, I mean, I think it says a lot, doesn't it? Obviously, Ian Wright was a lot older than wasn't he? A few years older than him, and he looked up to Rocastle, didn't he? Ian Wright looked up to him, even though he was
Rocastle
younger.
was giving him advice.
Giving him advice. I mean, it's unbelievable, really. But it showed what a character he was, and and I think that partly because I say the way his upbringing, because his dad had died when he was so young, and he had been given that responsibility, or taken on that responsibility at home, hadn't he? So I suppose that it was natural for him to be that way. And I think one of the big things for me was that he never lost that, did he? Where he had come from, quite a I suppose working class background, if you like, if you want to call it that. And he never kind of forgot that, did he? Even when he became an international footballer, he still was, he still knew where he was from, and he never lost that, did he? And that was fantastic. I think that nowadays that doesn't happen, does it? Footballers tend to, it goes to their head a lot, doesn't it, with the money and the fame. I know football was different then, but he kept his feet on the ground, and you could see what difference it made to him as a person as well as his career. It's just a shame the injuries in the end, kind of put a stop to it, because he would have been, I think, without that injury on his knee, he would have been at Arsenal all his career. He'd never have left.
Yeah, no question whatsoever. At 25, he left Arsenal. 25, he was. I mean, that's just such a robbery of talent and years of trophies that we could have had with him. And so sad.
And his career never kind of took off again, did it? He always struggled. No. He didn't really make it at Leeds, although Leeds fans loved him. He went to Man City. He didn't really do much there, injury again, but the Man City fans loved him. He was at Chelsea for a while.
Chelsea
fans loved him, and he went on loan a couple of times. Everybody loved him. Whoever he played, the fans loved him. Everybody loved him. And I think that kind of, there's not many people in life that happens to. It's easy to upset people, isn't it? But it seems, for me, certainly the impression that you get, that I don't think he upset many people at all, if anyone.
Well,
there's another player like that, though. There's one other player, not as much as that, but nearly as good as that. Wherever he went, he was loved by the fans. Another Arsenal player, same era, Kevin Campbell. They loved him at Forest. Yeah. They absolutely adored him at Everton. Right? No one's got a bad word to say about him. It's like two peas in a pod in the way they go about their football and about the way they, brilliant.
Another South East London boy. That's why, you see.
Yeah, I know, there's so many parallels. I mean, they play for the same team and everything. Brilliant.
As much as I absolutely adore George Graham and always will, what a wonderful guy, what a wonderful manager he was for us. Two most disappointing and gut-wrenching, angry, you name it, things that he's done. First one was obviously getting rid of David Rocastle, like you said earlier, Melvin, and you, Richard. No one knew anything about it, and when I saw that he'd gone, I literally wanted to burst into tears. I was that gutted, absolutely devastated. And do you know what? The only other one was, because remember, there's no social media then, no mobile phones, nothing. They used to just find out about it either on Club Call or on the back of a paper, teletext. Was Anders Limpar leaving for Everton? I literally saw a picture of him on the back of the paper, on the back of the newspaper, in an Everton shirt. I thought, what the fuck? And I literally went up to him, saw that he'd left, and I thought, devastated, absolutely gutted. In those days, you literally find out about it like that. I couldn't believe it, and I will never forgive George Graham for getting rid of either of them, to be honest with you, but especially Rocastle. But we understood why, but I never will properly understand why, because he should have been at Arsenal for his career.
Afterwards, we sort of understood why. But I mean, there's only really been two players that I can remember off the top of my head that I got upset about when I knew they'd left. And obviously, Rocastle was the main one. And then later on, Paul Merson, when he left as well, I was a bit, why we get rid of Paul Merson? Because I thought he had another 4 or 5 years at Arsenal still. And unfortunately, but obviously, Rocastle was more because you just couldn't see him, could you? Never. And
what it's like? It's like, you always remember certain things where you were at the time when you heard it. And I remember where I was when I heard Rocastle left. No other player.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. That is true. Actually, yeah, I do.
Dreadful, horrible moment. I still get really angry about it. To be perfectly honest, like I say, I always remember David Rocastle. I always remember him. I think about him all the time. What a player he was and everything. And someone put I can't remember who it was, but someone put a question in earlier in the chat, which is really interesting. What sort of player modern day player most resembles him and his style? Do you know what? I've been since about an hour ago now. So I think that question went onto the chat, and I can't think of one. I can't think of a player that's just like him in this day and age.
I'm not Arsenal.
Not a modern day.
No. Anyone at all. No one.
John Barnes is the closest for me.
Yeah, but modern day.
Yeah, no, modern day. I can't think of a modern day player.
No. There ain't anyone like him. He'd be priceless. Honestly, everyone would want him. Every top club around Europe would be wanting to sign David Rocastle, no question at all. And I include Madrid and Barcelona and all that, because he does everything. Such a hard worker, but such a brilliant talent as well. Great guy, leadership qualities. He's literally got it all. And I can't think of a club that wouldn't want to sign him.
The physique he had as well. He was just a perfect athlete, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was
man.
Like a sprinter, and he was strong. He was quick. He was just unbelievable. Yeah, he had everything, like you said.
Look at some of those photos that you put up earlier. His legs, like I spoke about Kevin Campbell with his side of his thighs. Yeah. Rocastle's right up there. He's like legs are like pure muscle. It's just unbelievable quality. Yeah. Another player. Never get brushed off the ball. No. You can't brush him off the ball. You literally have to body check him to get him on the floor. Strong, really strong, but quality.
He had the perfect physique for a footballer. Perfect physical profile. Now, if he was going to create a player now, you'd almost make him in David Rocastle's build, wouldn't you?
Yes.
His height, his size, everything. That's how you'd make a player now, and there isn't a player like him. I mean,
there ain't one. No,
there isn't a modern player like him. I mean, you feel.
And do you know what? Do you know what that question where you say choose a player, and if you could have 11 of those players in one team that could win the league? Yeah, there's a few. Like I mentioned earlier, like probably Ray Parlour, someone like that as well, who would just do everything that you wanted him to do on the pitch and work and just die on the pitch if he had to. He's that much of an hard worker. Kieran Tierney's another one. I think he'd be great. 11 Kieran Tierney's on the pitch, you wouldn't have a chance. Rocastle was another one. Rocastle, though, if you had the 10 outfield players all like David Rocastle, I mean, he would do a perfect job in any of those positions, don't you reckon?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, and just his leadership as well on the pitch. You just need players like that on the pitch, don't you? Shane's got a comment in the chat there. You guys should do one player profile each week. Talk about the player in depth. That'd be great. Yeah, that's not a bad idea actually.
No, I'd love that. Yeah.
There's 800 odd players that played for Arsenal, so we've got a lot to choose from.
I'll do from the 1920s to the 1930s, Richard. Is that
right? Yeah, you can do them. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you have the knowledge of them, so it's fine. You'll be fine with it. But yeah, no, that's not a bad idea actually. It's not a
very good idea actually.
Talk about individual certain players that we've all seen play and the memories of each player, because that could be quite good, because there's loads of them over the years that I could talk all night about some players just because of how much of an impact they made. And obviously Rocky's probably the top of that list, isn't he? For the impact
talk about for hours.
Just watching him play for us, and I was fortunate maybe in the sense that over the period of time that he played for Arsenal was a part of my life when I was going virtually every game home and away every week. So I saw most of his games probably actually live. There wouldn't have been many that I probably didn't see because I was going nearly every game at that stage. I was quite fortunate, I suppose. Obviously it was a great Arsenal team. It was a great time to be an Arsenal fan. The early days of George Graham, when we came from being pretty average to suddenly thinking to yourself, you know what, we might win some trophies here.
You couldn't see it coming for a while though, could you either, at that period? Because Liverpool was so dominant. Yeah, and we had a team of no one, no one knew no household names in our team then, really.
You could see us winning the FA Cup perhaps and the League Cup. You wouldn't have thought we could have won the league with Liverpool.
Not honestly,
that was the thing.
Such a good time. It was brilliant.
You look at that team, right? The 88-89 team, obviously that did win the league that season. You look at that team at the start of the season. There's no way on earth you'd have imagined that team could win the league against that Liverpool team. You just couldn't see it. We had a lot of young players, a little bit inexperienced. Yes, they were good players, but you just couldn't see us winning the league that year. And it suddenly we produced, apart from a little shaky spell that we had, 3/4 of the way through the season when I think the nerves got to us because we were top of the league. Other than that, it was almost a fantastic, almost a perfect league season, was it? Where we played away from home, we were just unstoppable with the pace of power that we had on the counter attack. We scored more goals away from home than we did at home that season. And it was just...
that was peak Rocastle as well, really. And because two of the greatest goals, like the Middlesbrough goal, was that season. The Liverpool goal was that season, even though that was in the cup.
Yeah.
And it was also the same season where I nearly saw him die in front of my eyes. I mean,
Yes,
against Millwall. That was that season.
No, the
You're
Millwall
talking
game.
about
Yes,
Millwall
the Villa
game was
goal
the
as
season
well.
after. It was the season after that game, the Millwall one.
But you're talking about that season, Richard. I remember watching it on TV.
Right,
I didn't
it was.
go when we beat Forest away. Was it 4-1 or something? We beat Forest
Yeah,
away.
that was
Marwood scored a couple, I think. We
Yeah.
were unbelievable that game. I think we got one of those typical Arsenal flicking at the near post from Bold, and Adam comes in.
Two of them.
Yeah.
Was it two? I remember one of them. I mean, that was just. I thought then that's cool. We've got a bit of a team here. And when we beat Everton away, I think it was 3-1. Everton away, was it 3-1?
Yeah.
That's when I actually thought we'd actually got a very, very good chance. We're going to win this league because we never got anything at Everton years ago, and we actually outplayed them and beat them. We were 3-0 up actually at one stage, and we tore them apart. And I thought, you know what? To go away to Everton and play like that, they got no fear at all. This mob.
Do you know what, Melvin? I think I remember that match really, really well, and I remember after the game, I was so excited. I felt like I could burst. I was like, I couldn't believe what I was watching. I thought genuinely we could actually win this. I was like buzzing all over, you know, like in the real sense. I was like, unbelievable. I was really got loads of belief after that game.
For some reason, that game did it for me.
Yeah,
That was a game that convinced me we could win the league. Watching that.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right.
And the Villa game where the Rocastle Villa goal.
Yeah.
When we won 3-0.
That was a game that convinced me. I remember coming back from the Everton game. You know what? I think we might do this. Actually,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Same here. Exactly. Isn't it funny? The same between the three of us. The same game.
Yeah. Honestly, I was buzzing.
Didn't it in your head?
Up until then, up until that Everton game, I think we've been doing well. We've been playing well, but I kept thinking we're going to start losing in a minute. Next game, we're going to start fall apart. And then we went to Everton that day, and we absolutely blew them to bits, didn't we? That was just that second half. It was just unbelievable. And I came away from that thing. That's it. We're going to do it. I'm convinced now we're going to do it.
It was the whole package of George Graham. You know, when we arrived at the ground and used to watch Match of the Day and stuff as well, and they all had the blazers on, and George Graham looked like a fucking beautiful, handsome man leading us into the stadium, and like all the players are wearing the same stuff, and like I was thinking, oh God, what an era! What a superb time to be an Arsenal fan. And then coming out and kicking the shit out of a team and going home with the 3 points, it was just superb, wasn't it? I was like, literally, but you know, I was so excited I could probably cry with happiness after that game because I thought we're going to do it. We're genuinely going to do it after that Everton game, I reckon. And what an end to the season! It had everything that year. I mean,
the week after the week after the Everton game, we drew 1-1 at home to Sheffield Wednesday. Right, it was a terrible game. They were in the bottom 3. Right, it was pouring down with rain, got soaked on a clock, and I come over from that thing. No, we're not going to win it now.
they were a real bogey team, though, weren't they? Wednesday, we hated them, and we always struggled against Wednesday. Seriously. Yeah. And when we had them both in the 2 cup finals in '93, I was like, "Oh my God, this is going to be horrific."
We never won it. We never won at Hillsborough. Ever.
No, they're a bogey side, big bogey side.
I remember he scored against us. Remember, is it Chapman who used to play for us? He scored the winner against us. Lee Chapman. That rubbed salt in the wounds, didn't it? Because he was useless for us, wasn't he?
Absolutely dog shit, wasn't he? We bought Brian Marwood from them, didn't we?
Yes, he was good. He only was with us over a season, wasn't he? We won the league.
Really good player.
Season and a half, really good player. He was brilliant that season. We won the league, wasn't he? He was
Brian Marwood on the wing.
Pair of wingers they were, and then we had Paul Davis. Oh no, Paul Davis got out the team, wasn't it? It was Kevin Richardson and Michael Thomas. Wasn't it, in the middle? What a
I'll tell you what. Do you remember that Villa game? Did we at that Villa game, the 3-0 with Rocastle's goal?
Yeah.
Do you remember the volley? Do you remember the volley Kevin Richardson had? And the keeper pulled off a incredible save from a corner.
Perry Groves got the third, didn't he? Perry Groves from close range, I remember.
Yeah. But I mean, I remember Richardson.
Alan Smith.
Alan Smith got the first, I think, header. Yeah. And he got wiped out by the goalkeeper, but just bounced straight back up.
Yeah.
But then I remember Richardson having a screaming volley from a corner, literally hit it on like Paul Scholes type corner from memory. And the keeper pulled up an incredible save. And he was such an underrated player, Kevin Richardson. He was such a really good player.
When we beat Liverpool 2-0 in that famous game, he was my man of the match.
Yeah, am I?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. He literally couldn't walk, and he did that tackle at the end, tackled John Barnes, and he had his socks right around his ankles because he had cramp, and he won that ball back.
He was brilliant at that game, Kevin Richardson.
He literally gave everything, wasn't he? If he'd have died on that pitch, then you'd think, well, fair play, son, because you'd put everything into that match. You couldn't put any more into that match. And
he was underrated, actually, Kevin Richardson.
Yeah,
he really was. So. Really was. Got to be up there for Player of the Year that season as well, really. I mean, he was an unsung hero, wasn't he?
Well, he wasn't even expected to have played that much because obviously Paul Davis was the main first choice, and then he got suspended for that Glenn Cockrell incident, and he was out of the team for ages, and then Kevin Richardson came in, did a fantastic job, and he just, when Paul Davis was back, he didn't get in the team, did he? Because Kevin Richardson kept him out because of how well he'd been playing.
Can you imagine, though? We had within a couple of years, we had a player break a player's jaw, got is banned for so many games. Then we had a player in prison. I mean, so many things are happening one after the other. I mean, imagine that nowadays with Twitter and all that. I mean, it'd be incredible, wouldn't it? We'd be slaughtered. I mean, we were slaughtered anyway, but having a
player against Man United.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That. The Man United brawl, and having 2 points taken away and still winning the league. And that made it even sweeter, didn't it, to winning the league that year? I mean,
people say, right, and I know that not everybody is old enough to have been around and stuff like that. People say, oh, what a great team the Invincibles was and how great the football was under Wenger. And it was, don't get me wrong, I loved all that. But for me, nothing can beat that sort of late 80s, early 90s team that we had. Just because, one, it was so unexpected because thought we'd ever win the league, and suddenly we did, and then we did it twice, and that was just the best era ever to be a fan. You had the terracing, you enjoyed the goals more, and I don't know, it was just a fantastic time to be a football fan. And the fact that Arsenal had to have success at that same time as well just made it even better, really, didn't it? Because it was almost like a perfect storm, wasn't it?
Well, do you know what made it sweeter? Really was. The advent of what they called Fergie's fledglings, the class of '92 and all that. We'd done it. We'd already done that like 3 or 4 years ago. But prior to that, we got no credit for it whatsoever. Bringing through all of those youth players and having an incredible team. Win the league off Liverpool, who were unbeatable at that point. Up to that point, no one could touch Liverpool across Europe, right? We have a team full of English players from our academy. No credit really at all. Brushed over, and then you get Man United. And fair play, of course, they were a brilliant team with all those youngsters coming through. But we'd done it already, but we got nowhere near the credit we deserved for that team. That era.
Don't you think a little bit now? Because I do, right? And it's always bugged me that we were the team under George Graham that overturned the Liverpool dynasty, right? That had been going on for 20 years, right? And we ended that. And what we should have done at that point, we should have gone on and dominated the 90s in the way that Man United did, and we didn't because George Graham didn't rebuild the team properly. He let Alex Ferguson take over and dominate the Premier League. That should have been us. We should have been the team to do that because we'd got Liverpool off. We'd pushed Liverpool out of the way. There's no one else had been able to do. And there was an opening there, and we should have took that, and we didn't. And that always has bugged me because the 1990s, the early Premier League seasons, that should have been us winning the league year after year, not Man United. We earned that right by doing what we did in the late 80s. But George Graham sat on his hands and didn't rebuild the team enough. After we won the league in 91, losing one game, we should have dominated football for 10 years with that team. Young players, and we didn't. And he let that fall apart. And I kind of, that bugs me still about him now, all these years later, because that should have been us. Alex Ferguson should never have been given that opportunity.
Totally agree.
And you know what? One of the mistakes was, how close were we of signing Roy Keane? Because it was a toss-up between Arsenal and Man United, wasn't it? And they wanted him more, obviously. And that was, I think, a great failing on not just Graham, the whole club.
We've never been able to match them for wages and transfer fees, unfortunately. But if we'd have just stretched those purse strings more, I mean, you can imagine how great it would have been. But you can't look back like that and think of it in that way. In some ways, because it led ultimately to getting Wenger. Because if we'd have carried on longer, with Graham, we never would have had the Wenger era, would we?
No, that's true. It did, but it just annoyed me at the time when every year Man United wins.
Totally agree, though. Yeah, I do
That should
agree.
be-
Yeah,
And George Graham, he replaced players like David Rocastle with, no disrespect, but with Eddie McGoldrick and those sort of players. You know, he took out Michael, got rid of Michael Thomas and brought in David Hillier, who was a good player, but not the same physical kind of presence. We lost all our pace and power. And
Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, just players that were not at the same level, and it wasn't the same.
No.
They didn't have the same power, the same strength, and the same mentality. And that's where George Graham went. He bought Ian Wright, which was great, but then he thought, I don't need a midfield now. I don't need players like Mickey Thomas, and I don't need Paul Davies because I'm just going to hit long balls to Righty to score. And we became a cup team when we should have. He should have seen what was happening, and he should have rebuilt that team and gone on to dominate football for 10 years, and he didn't. And I kind of, I regret that a little
Andy
bit.
Linnigan and Colin Pates at the back and players like that.
Exactly.
And they just weren't up to scratch, were they?
We missed the trick there, really. But like you said, it did lead to Wenger eventually and the great times that we experienced there. So I suppose it swings and roundabouts. But it just annoyed me at the time.
We did it before. Going back in our history, Richard, we did it with the 1971 team, double team. We hardly won anything after that. We had some great players. Youngsters coming through as well. The Charlie Porges, Ray Kennedy's in his place. We had Pat Rice, was outstanding. And all of a sudden, it all went, well, what happened there then? Where did that great team go? In 2 or 3 years, he got rid of them all. And it was a big, big mistake. He tried to I'll give you an example. Frank McClintock with Jeff Blockley. That was the clue, wasn't it? Things like that. Yeah. And other players that I mentioned. It drove me mad. I thought, 71, winning the double. Here we go, boys. Never seen us win the league before. Now seen us win the double. Onward. And it never happened. And it just got worse and worse as the years went on.
We've never loosened the purse strings to go that little bit extra just to push ourselves. We've never done it throughout our whole history, have we, really? We've been lucky in lots of cases with really, really cheap buys that have turned into superstars. But it can't work like that all the time. And we've never made the real statement signings. I mean, lately we're getting a bit much more like it with players that we've brought in, like the Ozil and Sanchez, and then obviously Pepe, who was wanted across Europe. You've got to remember that at the time. We were massively overpaid, I know. But we got that player, and it was really exciting because he was wanted by all the top clubs. And that's
not at that level.
Very,
he wasn't.
very
I don't
rare.
think anyone else would have given 72 for him.
No. Like I just said, I did caveat it with the price. But he was a sought-after player that summer. Everyone was talking about him. I mean, it doesn't matter how he's turned out and what you think about him. It was a big buy at the time. That was all I'm saying. But we haven't done that very often at all. Prior to that, Dennis Bergkamp was the only signing we made that made everyone stand up and pay attention. Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira, they were known, but they weren't world superstars when we bought them. They were outcasts. And we turned them into superstars. Same with like an Elka and the list goes on. They
were kids. Those three you mentioned were kids. They weren't established stars. So it's not you turn a poor player into a great player. They were great players. They were going to be great players anyway, I believe. But they did very well with us at the helm.
They became elite.
Yeah.
But after
the only
coming
one
into our
was
team,
Bergkamp. He was an established footballer who wasn't quite cutting the mustard. Him coming to Arsenal was brilliant for us and brilliant for him.
Yeah, absolutely. But he was like a world proper star because of what he'd done at Ajax previously and so on. And everyone knew about him.
I couldn't believe we bought him. I thought it was a mistake in the papers.
So
I couldn't believe
what I'm saying is we've done it throughout history. We've never strengthened like Man United used to win the league, and then they still get a new player in every summer to put pressure on the existing players and for them to keep their places. They did it all the time, whether they needed it or not. They still go out and buy someone. We never did that, and that's what we've suffered from our whole history throughout the whole history of the club. And going back to the 30s, even, when we won the league 3 years on the trot, we should have dominated from there on in. And no, it didn't. And yeah, it's just littered with that throughout our history, isn't it? Unfortunately, not strengthening when we should have done.
I think we did all right in the 30s. I think what might have happened is obviously the Second World War never helped. But I think without that happening, I think we would have been okay in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah, true.
The 70s is the one that done me.
I mean, we apart from the 1930s where we won, I think it was 7 trophies in the decade, in the 10 years of the 30s. We haven't dominated an era since then, have we? We've had little bits of success here and there, but we haven't really built on it and pushed on enough. I mean, you know, the invincible team, we won like, what was it, 4 trophies in 4 seasons or whatever it was, but you know, 5 trophies in 4 seasons. But at that time, you couldn't say we dominated that era because Man United were winning more. And since then, Chelsea have won more. And you know, when we overtook Liverpool, Man United took over and won more. And we've never dominated an era ever. The 70s, like you said, it was. You know, we had the opportunity there. We over sort of turned leads, if you like, and then Liverpool took over, didn't they, instead of us?
Chelsea were a piss pot club, weren't they? Until the money came in, they were nothing.
Yeah. But it's
literally, that just shows you what money can do, and we've never had. I'm not saying spend exactly what they did in the early days of the Abramovich era, but that's what you got to do nowadays, and that's what. Unfortunately, put paid to a lot of titles under Wenger, and because of the money that came in from Qatar and from Russia. How on earth are we ever going to compete with that? Because we can't. It's real life Football Manager, real life. You know, FIFA. It's like they just literally went out there and bought all the best players, all of them, and then what are you supposed to do against that? You know, you're only then fighting for 3rd and 4th, but that's. Very, very rare you're going to get a Leicester winning the league when there's all this, you know, Man City throwing the money around and Chelsea throwing the money around, buying all the best players. That affects us as well. But it's how do you do that? I mean, how do you cope with that? Once in a lifetime, you can get a Leicester.
No, I'll tell you how you cope with that. You have instilled in your players' minds that you're as good as them. You know, especially when youngsters are coming through that are hungry. You install in them that you're better than them. You've got all the ability that they've got. Just because they cost more money coming from other clubs, don't necessarily make them better. And but
then they want to go to those clubs. They want to leave Arsenal to go to Man City. That's what happened to us.
That's when we had our hands.
Because they pay more money. They pay more money.
Now we're lucky now. We've got an owner that won't let that happen now. Tongue in cheek.
I know, but honestly, look what happened to us. Player after player joined Man City, you know, because they paid more.
I mean, Shane said teams owners who invest properly is possibly the most important thing in a club. It certainly is a massive help, isn't it? If you've got owners that do invest properly, it's massively important, isn't it? And unfortunately, we don't, and certain other clubs who are ahead of us have had, and that's been the difference, I guess. But it's the way football is these days, and it's not what we were brought up with, is it? It's not how we knew the game to be. And you know, I always used to like the fact that, you know, when we did have all that success, you know, maybe under George Graham and even in the early days of Arsene Wenger, I felt as though we deserved that success because as a club we'd worked hard for it. We hadn't won the lottery, we hadn't been given a prize. We'd actually worked for all the success that we had. And, you know, I didn't feel Man United had because the money that they had available, the players that they were buying on a regular basis. And obviously since then with Chelsea, with Man City and what have you, I felt we deserved our success that we got. And maybe we didn't have as much as we would have liked, but maybe we deserved it more, perhaps. That's how it felt. And, you know,
do you know what it might have led to, though? It might have led to us being bought out by Qatar or Russia if we had done that in the early 90s and carried it on throughout the 90s. Till we would have been, because I know that Roman Abramovich actually came to see Arsenal, didn't he, before he bought Chelsea, and he only went to Chelsea because of the area. He went to Chelsea. He went to Arsenal. Roman Abramovich. He actually went. Well, I've definitely read and heard several times that he went to Arsenal before he went to Chelsea. Yeah. But I tell you what, if we had invested and really dominated the 90s, that could have really changed who owns the club long term. Possibly. Without question.
Well, yeah, but I suppose.
But we'll never know, will we?
We're just left with what we've got now, I guess. That unfortunately isn't really.
We are where we are, as they say.
Yeah, no, we are, and it's a shame because we look a long way away from challenging all those clubs, don't we? Now we look a long way away, and I suppose I think maybe I don't know, maybe because of we've seen Arsenal have success without having to do that. We've seen Arsenal win the league with a team of predominantly youth products or players from lower divisions that we bought cheap. And we've seen Arsenal do that. So to me, it's like, it frustrates me because I want to see Arsenal do that again. But it's never going to happen. It's not, is it? It's never going to happen. Just because of the way football is now. You're not going to be able to do that with that sort of team. You know, you can say all these young players that we've got in the club now. We have got some great young players. We've got, you know, Saka and Smith Rowe and other players that maybe we've brought in, Martinelli and Odegaard, if we can keep him and stuff. We've got some great young players, but we're never going to win the league just with a team like that. We're not going to be able to do it. Shane's asked a question in the chat there. He says, what year did David Dein leave? I think it was 2007, wasn't it? David Dein left.
It's when he brought Usmanov to the club, didn't he? With red and white holdings.
Yeah. I think it was 2007.
I think you might be right. It's definitely around there. But he
around about there,
that's one of the worst things that happened to Arsenal, unfortunately. Him leaving as well.
Well, David Dein turned up in 1983 initially, didn't he? That was when he bought into the club. And very soon after that, we started to win trophies. He left in 2007, and very soon after
2007.
So
it was 2007. Yeah, just checked.
Yeah, I thought it was about then. Yeah, because it was. I knew it was not long after we moved to the Emirates, wasn't it? It was so soon after that. Yeah, and then 2007.
But he was actually responsible. A massive percentage of the reason the Premier League actually started was David Dein, wasn't it? His idea initially.
I went to a talk he gave on that. I mean, he's given loads of talks about that. It was an amazing talk about how it all got started and his role in that and all the other people that are involved. It's really, really amazing. And I think we've spoken about this before, Richard, that the thing that gave the sexiness to football for Sky was the Arsenal-Liverpool game.
Yeah.
They realised they're on to a winner here. Hold on a minute, this is ridiculous. Friday night, no one's watching Coronation Street. What's going on?
It was that, followed by Italia 90.
Yeah.
Gazza's tears.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, that's what, because the 1980s. I mean, we said it before. The 1980s was a bad decade for football in general. I mean, I quite enjoyed going, but it wasn't a great. You know, crowds were low.
I loved it.
Football was generally long ball tactics. Wimbledon were doing well in the first division, and it wasn't. You know, a lot of the grounds were falling apart, and if you was a football fan, you were looked down upon, wasn't you, in society? You know, if you started a new job and what do you do? Oh, well, I go to football on a Saturday. People looked down on you a little bit, didn't they?
Yeah.
And and that's the way it was. But obviously, the start of the Premier League and the way that Sky jazzed it all up kind of changed people's perception of football. And it was on the back of that Arsenal game. It was on the back of the Italia 90 World Cup. And I'd never have thought at the end of the 1980s, I mean, funny enough, going back to Rocky, that first season when he made his debut, 85, 86 it was, obviously September 85, that was the season directly after the Heysel disaster. So English clubs have been banned from Europe. Literally, the crowds were disappeared. Hardly anybody was at games. It was just ridiculous. I mean, at Highbury, there was like 20,000 odd most games in the season. It was empty, and the atmosphere was terrible. And it was like, I'd never have imagined that within 10 years of that, we would have gone to this glitzy Premier League with foreign players coming in and stuff like that. I could never have seen that coming at that point. Football was dead for me. Football was it was dying by that point. By the mid 80s, football was dying, and just the transformation. And yes, David Dein was a big part of that. Which, for good or bad, you can look back on it now and think, was it the best thing for football? I suppose it had to be done because something had to change, didn't it? I suppose it's just gone too far now. But yeah, I think David was important because he wanted to put Arsenal at the forefront of that, didn't he? That was his dream, and we sort of got there, but not quite. Other clubs took over that mantle, didn't they? Man United mainly, and that's what David Dein had dreamed for us, didn't he? That was his dream, to put Arsenal at the very top, the top of this brand new shiny Premier League. We got there in the end, sort of, but it took a bit longer than he maybe wanted it.
Well, he brought Usmanov to the table. Don't forget who makes Roman Abramovich look skint. I mean, he's got loads more money than Roman Abramovich. but the board wouldn't have him, wouldn't allow him to come to the table, would they? He was desperate to spend money, and now he's obviously connected more with Everton. But and they're above us in the league now.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, David Dean was genuinely an Arsenal fan, and he only wanted the best for Arsenal. And unfortunately, I think he wanted to move things too quickly, to modernise things too quickly for the old board's liking, really. And that's about it, really, in a nutshell, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
as I said before, we're falling between two stools. We want to be like Chelsea, we're snobs. We don't want to people. We want our own money, not anyone else's. We want control of our own club. So what do? Sell out to someone that takes our soul from us. We still ain't got the money. At least Chelsea supporters have got the money. We haven't got it. So we've lost on both counts there. It's a bit of a shame.
I'm telling you now, if they'd not been bought out, then all of Chelsea's trophies would have probably gone to Arsenal, wouldn't they? I'm not being funny.
Well, I don't know about that. But
maybe not all of them, but a lot of them.
But you've got to remember, before Abramovich, if Harding wouldn't have got involved, they might have got the wall, Chelsea.
Well, they were sold for £1.
Harding got involved. Yeah, exactly.
Ken Bates bought them for £1.
Yeah, £1. If they had not been taken over by Abramovich, we would have had the majority. I'm not saying
overcharged.
The majority of their trophies.
I reckon Ken Bates was overcharged. No, I reckon he was.
That's only because I never had a 50p coin on them. That's why I had to give £1.
Oh, yeah. You probably said, just take that. That's all I've got. Have that.
A lot of businesses were like that, though, in the 80s and 90s, didn't they? I mean, I don't want to change the subject completely, but a lot of businesses were bought for £1 because they're just taking on all the debt and all the staff and all that sort of stuff. But it don't happen anymore. It's going to
happen again in the next 5 years and all.
Probably will, yeah. Yeah.
Probably not even 5 years. Within the next 5 years, that'll be happening again, I would have thought. But anyway, we'll see what happens. But maybe if we all put £1, we might be able to buy Arsenal in about 2 years' time. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And we'd have to sell all the players because we wouldn't be able to afford their wages. That'd be the problem, wouldn't it, I suppose?
Nah.
But anyway, we'll have to see what happens. But anyway, that is for another time. I mean, as we sort of wrap things up now, I mean, obviously we did get sidetracked a little bit away from Rocastle, but I guess it doesn't matter. It's all been good stuff. Reminiscing a little bit as well, which is what it was about to a certain degree as well. But of course, obviously, tomorrow is the day, isn't it? The 20th anniversary, unfortunately, of that day where we lost somebody very, very special to the club and to us as well, I think, as individuals as well, because I think we all felt the same about him, didn't we? I think everybody did who met him, really, and had any kind of contact with him at all. I know we only mainly had a contact on the pitch watching him play, but you could just see what playing for Arsenal meant to him, and I don't think it means that same anymore to most of the players that we've got, one or two perhaps, but most of them you don't see that anymore, do you? The only player now in our team, I know he's wearing number 7, is Saka. He's the one player that I've compared him a little bit to Rocastle just because I feel as though he's very down to earth. He seems very humble, and he's a very intelligent guy. And I just he reminds me the most of any player since probably that's come from our academy. Is not necessarily physically or in the way that he plays. He's a different sort of player, just more in.
Reminds me of a young David Rocastle.
Yeah,
to Louis Walsh.
He's probably the nearest one for me. And Shane says, moving to the Emirates killed us in hindsight with Chelsea. Yeah, but if we hadn't moved, we'd probably be, in the bottom half of the Premier League for the last 5 years or so, 10 years. So we didn't really have a lot of choice, did we? Either way, we would have been knackers, I think. But anyway, it is what it is, I guess. And it's hopefully better times are coming, are they? Do you think? Or not? I don't know.
I think, listen, on the football front, I think we'll be all right. I think, as you say, Andrew, we've got some really exciting youngsters coming through. If we do this properly, we can be all right. I'd rather us, I know it's not exclusive, but I'd rather us have the youngsters playing great football and coming 8th than playing all these big wages to people who ain't got the club at heart and finishing 6th. I really mean that. I know that
genuinely
obviously have to happen.
Totally
But that's
agree.
what I feel with the Arsenal. I want people to to play for us that have got feeling for us, and who just want to get on and do it. I don't want, I feel much happier with that. Yes, we can't win the league at the moment with the club, with the squad we've got, obviously, but going forward we can get nearer it. And if the others drop off, there's 2 or 3 you've got to drop off, and we continue to bring the youngsters in, and they do what they might be doing this show with the promise they show. You never know, we might come in the first 3 and lovely, and then get very, very lucky, and you never know, as I say, we could actually do it one year. I'm going through another 5 or 6 years, not the next couple of years.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'd rather go out really fighting and having a go, and when we lose, it means something to every player. Really means something, and it hurts them like it hurts us. That's what I'd love. And if we go down fighting like that and giving it all on the pitch with some youngsters that have grown up with the club, then I'll be so happy and so proud that they've put in a real battle and have done their best. And I would love that so much more than bringing in, I'm sorry, but people at the end of their career, mercenaries who just come in because they want to stay in London, don't give a shit about the club. And, who I'm talking about, Willian. Players like, and we'll always disagree, Richard, about Xhaka. I don't believe he gives a shit about Arsenal. Genuinely don't. I think he cares about himself and his reputation. He wants to look good on the pitch, and that's great. And he's been playing well for us. I'm not knocking him for that. But I don't think he gives a shit about Arsenal, the club, having that on his chest. I think it's all about him. And there's a lot of players like that I could name and reel off. And luckily, we got rid of a lot of them in January as well. And long may that continue. But if we're going to do it properly, do it properly. Don't do it half-heartedly. Bring through the best players that we've had in years from our academy and give them a chance to play on the pitch and show them what they can do. Because we would never have seen Rocastle. We would never have seen Michael Thomas, Ray Parler, you name them, all of them that came through, Tony Adams. If they hadn't got that chance, then they wouldn't be Arsenal legends on the side of the Emirates now. And what's to say that Aziz couldn't be in the future? What's to say that any of these other youngsters, that top quality youngsters we've got at the moment, can't be? Saka, ESR, why can't they have their picture outside the Emirates one day in the future? So I just really hope that we go down that route, Melvin. I would totally agree with you, and I'd much rather finish where we are now or where we finished last season. But we have a team of Arsenal youngsters that have been going to start their careers with us, and we can see those careers develop in front of our eyes like we did in the 80s, and it'd be exciting. And I would do anything for that. I really would.
Yeah.
And that would be a good kind of, so the spirit of Rocky will live on forever at the club with
brilliant
guys like that coming through. That would be great, wouldn't it? And we have lost that, unfortunately, in the last 20 years. We have lost it a little bit, and then unfortunately, I agree. I'd like to see that back. That whole kind of the club meaning everything to these guys because they've grown up there. Obviously we had Mark on before. He felt that because he grew up at the club, and obviously Rocky and loads of others. And we've lost that. Yeah, we've got young players now, but even some of them, I'm not convinced. Maybe guys like Reece Nelson and Joe Willock, I don't think that they've got that same mentality. I really don't. Some of them have. I think Saka has definitely. I think ESR may well have. But it's most of them youngsters, I don't think they do have that. Balogun certainly doesn't, or he doesn't appear to have. I know he's getting bad advice, as we said, but players
I think Nelson has, but I think he's not like a strong leader character. I totally agree. He's more of he's more sort of withdrawn than that. But I think his talent is. Do you know what we were talking earlier? Really quickly, those training videos that you mentioned earlier on in the show ages ago about what the Arsenal put out, and it's really enlightening. When you actually watch those, they're about 15, 20 minutes long, and watch what the players are doing and how they're actually attacking the training. And I'm not giving up on Reece Nelson. I'll tell you, I watch all those training videos, and he really impresses me. I think the problem he's got is that he's not the Rocastle strong. I'm going to do it under all cost mentality. He needs a bit of a push. He needs a bit of and that's fair enough. Everyone's different. Every human being's different, and they need to be treated in different ways. But I think he's got the talent to make it. But I don't think he's maybe got. I mean, if anything's going to stop him, it may be his mentality. But I don't think it's not because he cares. It doesn't care. I genuinely don't.
No, I just don't think they care in the same way. And yeah, I agree. It's a mentality issue with Reece Nelson. It's like a lot. I mean, as Mark said himself, some players can overcome adversities in their career and they can grow and become better. Whereas with Reece Nelson, it seems like because he's not getting picked, he's going into himself more, and he's not able. It doesn't seem able to kind of fight back and respond.
I think that might be it. He's so talented. You watch those videos. He's so talented.
Good player, but that sometimes it's not enough, is it? Just a good player.
No, he might not be. But I don't think it's because he doesn't care about Arsenal or anything like that. Or he's just lazy or anything. I don't think it is. I think it's purely a mentality thing. But I agree with you about Saka, about him being probably the closest we've had to Rocastle actually since a great man himself. But not in stature, like you say. But there is a lot of similarities between the two. I do believe.
Yeah, no, I think
as long as Saka can learn how to put a ball away, like Rocastle did.
Yeah, I think he will. I mean, honestly, I really do think he will. Yeah. He'll have one of those seasons, like a breakthrough season. Maybe next season. Who knows? It could be the season that wins us the league when he actually properly breaks through his whole energy and talent just suddenly everything clicks into one.
You don't see. I don't see, because of maybe the sort of player he is. You don't see Saka scoring anywhere near the sort of goals that Rocky did. The goal at Aston Villa, for example. Saka's not going to score a goal like that. I know he got that one against Chelsea, which was a miss-hit cross, but most of his goals is because he makes intelligent runs into the box, gets on the end of things, and he's in the right place to finish him off. He doesn't tend to score, does he? The sort of Rocastle type goal. We don't have a player.
No, don't have to. He's more of a Sterling type.
No.
Sterling all of a sudden he's like scored like 20 to 30 goals a season, didn't he? All out of nothing. Yeah, he couldn't hit a barn door earlier in his career.
Well, no, that's true. Yeah, maybe
he couldn't hit a barn door.
But yeah, I mean, I think hopefully Saka will have that sort of season where he scores a lot more goals. But yeah, he's the shining light, isn't he? And everything that's gone at the club in the last 18 months, he's been the one real shining light, hasn't he?
Yes.
You know, in the same way that I felt when Rocastle first got into the team in '85, it was a pretty poor Arsenal team at that time, and he was a shining light. And others then came in, and we grew. And I can see Saka, he's that same kind of light for me now in this current mess that we've been in over the last 18 months. And hopefully, it'll end up going the same sort of way. Ryan says Saka meant that goal. I know he said he meant it, but I'm not convinced he did. I got to be honest. Maybe he did. I don't know. He did say he meant it, so maybe we'll give him it. But he needs to score a few more like that first, and I might start to believe him a bit more. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely he's the one, isn't he? He's the one player for me. He's the new Rocky, but a different Rocky. And
we can all start. Yeah, definitely. He's got the right sort of. What's the word? Lovability. I'm going to say not a word, but I made it up on the spot. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's got that about him, hasn't he? Where everyone's going to love him for years to come.
Yeah. And they do already, don't they? I mean, he's the way. I mean, I think virtually every single Arsenal fan I spoke to over the last year says Saka's been our best player. He's their favourite player, and it's because that just shows what impact he's already having, isn't he? And hopefully that will continue, and he'll go on and become one of the greatest English players of modern era. Which
don't know, do we? It might be, yeah.
He has, and he's
got the opportunities. Put it that way. Definitely got the opportunity, hasn't he?
And let's just hope that he doesn't maybe suffer injuries in the way that Rocky did, that maybe prevented him from becoming that player in the end, which he couldn't quite become, did he? Unfortunately, and his career didn't quite go where it maybe looked like it was going to at some point due to that. So let's hope that Saka can, go as far as he can possibly go, because that would be great to see, wouldn't it? One of our own coming on and going on and doing that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's been good tonight. I've enjoyed it. Sometimes it makes me. Obviously, it's sad to think about Rocky, but I wanted it to be a little bit upbeat and remember him in a positive way, which I think we've done. It makes me more sad as well to think of the great times that we used to have and don't seem to be having anymore. But anyway, I'm sure things will change in the near future, hopefully. But yeah, so thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks for you all guys in the chat. Shane was here most of the way through. Dave was in as well. Obviously, Ryan as well from the Mr. Arsenal podcast. Please check him out as well. Joe as well. He's always in the chat as well. Good to see you again, Joe. You've enjoyed it. Definitely get some videos of Rocastle out to watch as well, because you definitely will enjoy that. Ender was in the chat earlier as well. So thanks for Ender for joining us as well. And FIFA boy Darren, who's new to the channel. So good to have you on board. Please subscribe as well if you've enjoyed it. Gary was in earlier as well. So you've got a lot of people in the chat tonight. It was really good. I think I was expecting a couple more people maybe come on. I couldn't quite make it, unfortunately, including one of Rocky's relatives as well, who was hoping to be able to come on, but unfortunately he couldn't make it in the end. Which would have been nice, but maybe another time he'll be able to make it, and we can organise that maybe next time. But yeah, that was a bit of a shame, but yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed it. It's been good. So thanks to all you guys for watching. Obviously, thanks to you two for coming on. Obviously, to Amanda from earlier on, who's on the Highbury squad, and of course Mark Flats as well, former Arsenal player. Just before you go, Melvin, where can people find you on social medias and places?
On some wonderful podcasts called From Dean Square to Where. Not Dean Square, from Dull Square to Where. Get that right in a minute. From the Mr. Arsenal podcast, I'm on that, and I'm on this one as well, which ain't too shabby either. So thanks all three of you for having me on. And every time, like I say, I do really enjoy it, and it's really great to chat about football. What can be better?
Exactly. What could be better?
100%.
Nothing much at all. makes it a good evening. And Andrew as well, just give your channel a little plug as well before you go.
Yeah, from Dial Square to Where, as Melvin so eloquently put it. I haven't actually planned the show tomorrow, but going to have a show tomorrow evening, 8 o'clock. Last week we had Graham Ricks on, as we know. Both of you guys very kindly joined me as well. That was a really good show. And yeah, get me on Twitter at From Dial Square. So hopefully see you all tomorrow as well for the show.
Yeah, definitely check out From Dial Square to Where as well. I'll make sure you subscribe to Andrew's channel as well. And we've got another comment in there. I just need to find it. It was from Shane again. Says brilliant stuff. Thanks, Shane.
Thanks to everyone in the chat. Been really good today.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Yeah,
appreciate all the support.
Really good.
And I know most of you guys in the chat have already subscribed, but if there's anyone out there watching that hasn't done, please do so. I'm getting quite close to my next target of subscribers, so I'm hoping to get there this week. I will be doing I'll be releasing on probably Thursday the preview video of the Liverpool game, and then Friday evening will be the Liverpool show. I'm hoping I'm going to look for a Liverpool fan over the next couple of days, find one wandering around somewhere outside in Twitterland, hopefully, to come on Friday and
in London probably
for the warm up show, which I'm sure will be good. And then obviously I'll do a watch along on Saturday as well at the game, and then I will do a review video as well at some point, probably Monday. I don't tend to like doing stuff on a Sunday because it's a day off, isn't it, on Sunday if we're not playing? So
because we go to church, Richard.
Well, of course, I've always got to go to church. We're allowed back in now, aren't we? Which is good. So that's handy. Now we're allowed, as long as only
going door to door asking if everyone knows about Jehovah, aren't you, Rich, on Sunday?
We've only allowed 6 at a time now, which is quite annoying. So, but anyway, well, five and the vicar, obviously, 5 others. So you have to wait your turn. But it's worth it. So that's anyway. But yes, I say thanks for all you guys watching. I say obviously remembering Rocky tomorrow as well, of course, on the actual anniversary of his passing, and also as well, of course, as I said at the top of the show as well, R.I.P. to Claude as well. I met him a couple of times on shows and stuff like that, as I think we all did. And yeah, really sad news that was today. So obviously massive condolences go out to his family and his friends. And Lee Judges was actually going to be coming on the show tonight, but due to obviously he was a good friend of his, so we can understand that as well. So yeah, let's just, I know there's been a lot of stuff going on social media with it all today, and I just think it's important at the end of the day, he was a massive big fan of Arsenal, really genuine guy, and I think everybody just needs to you need to appreciate that really, and and that's it really with that. So just remember Rocky. Yes, definitely, we'll always do that. But I say also as well, thoughts go out to Claude and his family as well, and his friends. at this really difficult time. So, but thanks, as I say, to all you guys for watching. Thanks for obviously Melvin, Andrew. Thanks to Mark and Amanda as well, who was on earlier. All you guys in the chat. I say stay tuned. Lots of good stuff coming up. I'll put the stuff out about the Friday show as well. Once I get a Liverpool fan involved, and then we'll go from there. And in the meantime, of course, as always, getting back to some actual football this weekend, which would be nice. And proper football.
Can't wait.
Rubbish. That is no point really, is there? But anyway, get back to some proper football at the weekend. So come on, you Gunners! Come on!
Come on, you Gunners! Come on, you Gunners!
Let's go! Let's go!
Oh, Rocky, Rocastle! Oh, Rocky, Rocastle! Yeah,
That's a great shirt, right?